Pero sí es mi amiga.
Hola chicos, vamos a estar acá viendo el segundo día del Pro Tour. Estamos acá con Branca que está rankeando mientras él rankea. Nosotros vamos a ver el segundo día. Esperen que preparo todo. Hay buenos
Yo lo que voy a
pronósticos,
hacer,
¿eh?
Mencho, ¿me escuchás?
Sí, te escucho y la gente igual.
Yo- ¿Cómo va, loco? ¿Todo bien?
¿Qué vas a hacer?
Bueno, bueno, yo voy a abrir el stream tuyo
Sí.
y lo que voy a hacer cuando me digas que mira alguna jugada puntual porque pasa algo copado, lo hago.
A hacer una cosa, abrí el de Magic directamente.
No, ahora el tuyo sí te miro.
Bueno, ahí está.
Ah, pero la cagada es que se me mezcla el volumen. Ah,
No,
no,
no, por
te
eso.
muteo en el...
Mutea y listo. Pero abrí el de Magic, que es el que voy a estar viendo yo, boludo. Vamos a ir
Ah,
acá. Ahí te lo paso, boludo.
Primo viewer, papá.
Sí, ahí te lo paso, el de Magic. Ahí está. Bueno, ahí estaba jugando un Sky Mutate.
He's going to put it
contra
on that huge mutate pile that he's got. That's going to be 4 triggers
Jacobson, que
now.
creo que estaba jugando.
No bigs.
Vamos a poner los decks acá.
Wow.
When this deck
That
is just
is
kind of
so
this deck is
impressive.
doing its thing, it does feel like at times like
Contra el
Now,
Iset
that's the
Control,
interesting
no.
thing about standard though, right? Like
Jacob Wilson contra Yoshihiro Ikawa,
Sí,
¿eso es?
ese es.
it's like, well, clearly this is the best thing going on. It's like, well,
Uy, me da la cara de Yoshihiro, ¿no?
Naya Uenoda, when that deck
Está
comes
Están
out,
repicante el
combiteando.
this is the
tema.
best thing going
Sí,
on.
este...
This just has mutate deck.
¿Qué está
Some of
jugando?
its
Un
turns
Temur...
is, woo,
Un Temur
it can be
agro. No, este es el Jeskai Mutate. Contra el Grul Aventuras. El canadiense está jugando la Grul Aventuras.
Qué mal se me ve.
No, es la transmisión, ahí está.
Edgewall Innkeeper, just brutality here
Ahí está.
for Wilson, who he's drawing
Ahí
one
está, ahí
drops, right? While he's watching his opponent cast Expressive Iteration and do this mutate pile shenanigans. It just has not worked out well here for what he wants. Now he does have a Den of the Bugbear. He's going to fire that thing up and just keep jamming, but
El Jeskai Mutate contra el Grul Aventuras. Con azul, el flash azul para qué. Ahora nos vamos a explicar.
pretty high life total too. You know, is there any reason to be concerned about a card like an Embercleave? No, because you can see a hand here for Ikawa that has Prismari Command, Fire Prophecy, into the Royal Negate. And what Ikawa is basically doing right
Y este es el deck que jugaste vos un montón de tiempo en estándar, el Grul.
Every avenue that you could have to beat covered.
Yeah,
no.
Are you worried about Embercleave? Well, I have 4 answers to it.
Yeah,
So
I can kill the creature.
Ahora, qué loco que sale todo bien, ¿no? Que no se pueden mirar las manos entre ellos.
Dragon, I don't think I really care. You know, like just
Yo no entiendo nada.
one of the best feelings as a Magic player is when you're just like, I don't care what you draw.
That's right. That's when you've.
No, ellos no se pueden ver las manos.
Boludo, no puedo creer que el partido que estaba jugando recién contra Monorrey lo voy a perder.
¿Cómo que lo vas a perder? Si lo tenías ganado. ¿Viste?
No, pero y bueno, no sé, me topdequeó 2 veces y me va a ganar. Sí, amigo, la magia de Monorrey, así funciona el mazo. Mirá, ahí me sacó otro Grul, ¿ves? Así me ganó, boludo.
Ahí está tratando de conviar, listo, conveo, me parece. Lo hace objetivo, crea tesoro.
And that's how you're able to continually do these things. Now we're going to see Cub Warden go on it, and then there will be a pair of Lord Drakis that'll hit it as well. And at 8 life for Jacob Wilson, it's just a few more of these Prismari commands before his life total will be 0. Now I want to mention,
Mirá vos, me ganó.
if you're a Jacob Wilson fan here, this is not elimination. This will drop him down and
A ver, voy a ver si es.
No, no importa. Diamante de Otto.
No, he's not. I mean, done it in this match. But not
Definitely done in this match. Yeah, this one was a beating. Wow, really impressive showing here from Yoshihiko Ikawa, not just for the tournament, making it to top 8 and all that, but just in this match. You know, we figured that this wasn't a good matchup here for Wilson. Boy, has it showed that way. What a brutality here from Ikawa.
Ahí está, y el Jeskai Mutate ya convió, a ver qué se devuelve. Y se vuelve 4.
José del Ponja, ya está, ya perdió.
Ya perdió.
¿Qué quiere inventar?
Y son jugadores de Pro Tour. La quieren
¿Y?
tirar para el final, qué sé yo. Tenés que ser más vivo. Si ya ves que te convió.
Ya está, amigo, ya está. No todos los días Navidad, listo, perdiste,
Ahí
japonés.
está, listo, ya está.
Ahí le concedió.
No, ahí perdió.
Ganó el japonés.
Sí, le hizo daño a la cara.
Y el canadiense está recaliente, ¿lo viste cómo estaba? Estaba recaliente, pobrecito. Y bueno, cosa que
No,
pasa.
el que perdió fue el canadiense.
Por eso estaba recaliente.
Ya, el Ponjita se le cagó de risa. Ahí está.
Sí, sí.
Con CD canadiense.
Mirá cuando esté jugando ahí. Cuando esté jugando yo, Mencho.
Y ya vas a llegar, amigo. Tenemos que... ¿Ahora cuándo es el próximo clasificatorio?
¿Ahora no venía uno?
Es de histórico, ¿no?
Creo que sí.
O no, es
No,
delimitado,
claro.
boludo, es delimitado.
No, el que viene ahora, el que voy a jugar ahora es el delimitado. Esta temporada te clasifica uno que es de coso.
Bueno, pero hay que clasificar por el limitado. Hay que empezar a jugar.
Sí, yo ya estoy jugando, boludo. Quiero entrar. Sí, boludo, no sabía que estaba Thalía.
En Historic sí, una fiesta.
Zarpado,
Al
boludo.
Lisette que juego yo lo destruye, boludo.
Y a mí también bastante, ¿eh? Y mirá que yo soy agro y bastante
Nah, vos
también.
no te jode tanto. Te retrasa un
Y pero
turno, te
igual, me
retrasa un
jode un
turno
poco.
la Colette Company y el
Mirá
gigante.
ese
A ver,
mazo,
vamos a ver
boludo.
tu mano. Vamos a ver tu. Mientras vuelve la. Acá vamos a ver la pantalla de Branca que está jugando Historic.
Bueno, eso no está mal.
Un mono white. Y acá te deja atacar. Si te lo quiere traer, que te lo trae.
El problema, la Thalía esa ahora se queda enderezada y no la paso más,
No,
boludo.
porque es daña. Tenés la defensa de.
Uh, se repicó,
No,
boludo.
listo. Y bueno,
Se
robaste la tercera
repicó.
tierra.
No, por eso. Se
Ahí
repicó.
se fue. Enrique Ferrari, boludo.
Ay, no lo puedo jugar encima,
No, no lo
boludo.
podés jugar. Hubiera ganado, boludo.
Ah, bueno, tampoco hubiera ganado.
No, no, si robás una tercera tierra un par de turnos antes, sí, boludo.
Sí, sí, por
Porque
eso.
hacías un 4-4.
¿Y vos te acordás la carta esa que había que se llamaba Grul Rampager, creo que era? Que...
Lo, desc- lo descartabas y le daba más 3 más
Más
2.
4 más
Más
4 más
4 más
4 más
4.
4 a
Sí, sí,
arrollar.
sí, 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 sí.
Estaba buenísimo,
Estaba
boludo.
buenísimo. Buena, te dice, y bueno.
Buena, me boludea. Buena. Ah, qué fue. No, me gastó, boludo.
Ya está,
Ah, sí. Tenía otra, mirá que HDP, boludo. Eh, Enrique
And welcome back,
Ferrari me
everybody,
garchó.
here
Enrique
in
con
the
H.
MPL Gauntlet. We are in the top
Jugate
8.
otra
We're
partita,
just in this kind of opening
Eh,
stages of the
¿Estás
top
jugando a
8,
veces
but we've
One?
got another round to
sí.
bring you here.
Que no te
Excuse
cruce,
me,
boludo.
another match to bring you here. This time, again,
¿Qué
for
estás
the
jugando vos acá, el del
quarters,
Fénix?
we've got
Sí,
Jean
Puta,
Emmanuel at the
bueno
top
ese.
facing
sí, está
down
bueno.
Javier Dominguez. Javier has brought Sultai Ultimatum
Va a jugar
to the
Talay
table
ahora,
to mirror rogues
A
in the
ver,
hands of Jean
ahí
Emmanuel.
está.
And as we
¿Lo estás
join the
jugando?
match here,
Talay viene
Fighters, we are actually coming
7-5.
into game
Venía
number 2,
8-1.
which means
Uy, se
the
pinchó. Igual ya
sideboard
entró
becomes
en
irrelevant.
el top 8.
Jean Emmanuel
Uy,
finds
juega
himself
contra
in the lead.
Robes, la tiene
Yeah, and
complicadísima.
this
¿Cómo ya
is
entró en el
this
top
is
8? ¿Ya
a
entró en el top
tough
8?
matchup.
Haciendo
You know, he had a
8-1
pretty
ayer
but
ya
they haven't
entraba.
had anything
Así que hoy
special
jugó.
for him.
Pero si
He's taken
ayer
a lot of losses
hizo
with this
8-1,
with this Sultai ultimatum strategy
hoy
here.
viene
This matchup is
7-5.
no picnic for him either.
Jodido.
¿Es
This is one of the
copado
most
ese
expensive rogues
Talay
in
o más o
standard.
menos?
No,
And this
para
one
mí es el
going up
mejor
to
jugador
Javier already
del mundo
down
de los
8
últimos
as
años.
well.
Crack.
Yikes.
Talay.
All right, well, let's get into game number 2 and see if Javier Dominguez can
Javier
equalize and
Domínguez.
force the game
Está
3,
en el
or if
Discord,
Jean
un crack.
Emmanuel's
Estuve
going to
jugando
continue
Among
on
Us, un
the
cago
upper
de
side
risa.
of our bracket.
Mirá cómo me
You gotta
garcho este.
figure he's
Mirá,
got a
atacó.
bit of a
Tomá.
nightmare for Javier, right?
El famoso si
Toma.
pasa,
You're trying to
pasa.
resolve these 7-mana sorceries or whatever against
Ya la cara de
these
Talay jugando
flying
contra
little
Rogues.
annoying
Está
counterspell rich
puteando.
decks like this. But what about in game 2 here? Is he able to shore the gap a bit, or does John Emmanuel get to counterpunch with his own sideboard plan?
I mean, Javier gets to make his deck appreciably better in the sideboard games. He's bringing in a lot of cards.
Si logra resolver la ira en turno 4, puede estar bien. El tema es que ya vemos que tiene dos counter ahí el Rogues y tiene que jugar. Ah, bueno.
Resolving a big creature like an Elder Gargaroth, like a Peluprio, something
Le
like
sacó
that.
el.
You know, you can play this kind of
Sí, está
reactive
complicado.
No, ya está. Le sacó el coso. Bueno, ahora.
Está complicado. Mirá la cara de Talay. Ya sabe
Sí,
que la
no.
tiene.
Y porque
Ya
es
sa-
el counter deck, boludo. Es como cuando nosotros jugábamos Burn y te toca un Martyr Life, boludo, que decía la concha de su madre, un token que se te repicaba. Te metían un Aureo Champion y ya decía la concha.
Y sí, nada que hacer.
Por eso, es así, nada que hacer. Ganás un partido de cada 10.
That's what I think Javier is going to need to be able to win this
Ac-
game and match. And
y acá.
thus far, those cards are not.
Bueno, tiene 3 tierras el oponente. Lo que pasa es que no va a resolver nada de los
Ah,
costes 4.
y si no necesita más, Mencho, ¿cuánta tierra cree que tenga?
No, tiene 3 tierras en la mano.
Igual-
A eso me refiero.
Sí, igual
¿Se tapea? No, ahí baja el... Ahí baja
tiene la ira ahí, pero
Sí, no va
nada,
a
igual
resolver. No va a resolver porque tiene el counter, ¿entendés?
está muy complicado, me parece. Bueno, pero puede jugar alrededor de eso, él con el... ¿Cuántas vidas tiene ahora? 13, no, está muy complicado.
Es que los corre ya.
2 counter tiene ahí en la mano. No le veo bien la mano al otro.
3 counter. Acaba de robar el tercero.
¿Qué tiene? Dos de los de counter 4 más y uno
otro
de los
que-
otros.
De los
Claro.
otros que destruye criatura.
No, ya está.
Ya se les fue.
Johnny Manuel, I know you can't hear me right now.
Ya está, el chabón el otro no se tapea ni a palo.
No,
boludo.
ya no se tapea más.
No sé. ¿Para qué se va a tapear? Él ahora le va a tener que tirar a matar el 4-2.
Ahí dejas resolver. Porque no tenés tierra o sí.
No, le tenés que tirar a matar el 2-3 o el 4-2. Bueno, ahí es una decisión, pero...
Ah, pero tiene la tierra.
Sí, pero nada, pero no importa. Él ahí va a contrarrestar, va a pagar y va a ganar las 4 vidas. Bueno, ojo igual,
Depende si se tapea o no.
Y porque se tapeó. Sí, se va a tapear ahora él. Claro, y él puede...
Meter
ojo,
la ira, ojo.
Sí, ojo.
I would agree.
Ahí la está
La ira
pensando.
la ira la mete por impar.
He's doing a nice job thus far.
Acá le mete el counter, tira la ira por impar. Bueno, le queda vivo el 2-3 nada más después. Pero bueno, ya contra un 2-3 puede lidiar. Porque aparte va a ganar vida y roba carta ahora.
Claro.
Uy, mirá los nervios que tiene el francesito. Me parece estar...
Clave
Está
esta
medio-
jugada, clave esta jugada. A ver
Uy,
qué hace.
está medio garchado, el
Se
francesito.
Se tapea.
Mirá, claro, porque él tiene el negate también. Claro, entonces le limpió la mesa. Claro, le limpió la mesa. No había visto el negate.
Claro.
No había visto. ¿Y pero es que no robó carta? Bueno,
Pero
está
si
bien,
tiene tierra,
claro.
La va a bajar ahora, Ahí está, ahí tiene el counter.
Amigo, estoy recolgado yo. No entiendo. Estoy mirando cualquier cosa. Uy, qué picante se puso el partido, porque si acá le tira de ahí, pierde.
Sí, el
Pero
tema,
mirá,
el tema
sabe,
es que-
sabe. No se la tira. Al 9 todavía le queda un restito. A ver.
Tiene que jugar alrededor de esos 2 strokes.
Dures.
Ay, los 2 buenos robos, Baja
Uy,
tierra
sí.
y acá le ve la mano.
Sí. Uy, se picó y le saca uno de los counter. Bueno, igual, está bien, le queda el otro al chabón igual.
Claro,
Está
sí,
complicado.
sí, pero bueno.
¿Y llegará a castear la víbora? ¿Cuánto le faltan? Sí, porque tiene las 4 vidas para ganar del artefacto.
Sí, por eso.
Mirá cómo está Domínguez. Está nervioso, Está nervioso. Atrás tiene
Gracias, Nick Kingdoms, por esa
Mencho,
raid,
atrás tiene una foto tuya, Mencho Domínguez. Eso que tiene ahí atrás es una
No,
foto tuya.
Es la de él levantando el Pro Tour, boludo.
Mirá lo que robó. Mirá lo que robó. Mirá cómo le cabió, amigo. Mirá lo que
el
robó.
counter!
Igual, no sé, porque tiene el Lurrus en la mano.
Y sí,
Ese
pero no se
Lurrus-
trae nada. Se trae uno. Sí.
Sí, se picó. Yo creo que igual la ira la tiene que jugar.
Sí, porque el próximo turno querés jugar coma. Salvo que hagas...
Sí, yo creo que la ira la tiene que jugar.
Haces ira counter, boludo.
Claro, ira counter y el turno que viene coma.
Coma, boludo.
Sí, chao. Es esa, ahí se acabó. Y bueno, él tiene el Urru, que se traiga esos bichitos, y bueno, vos tenés la
No,
coma
pero
y...
se trae uno que es el...
No, mirá, ¿qué hace? ¿Por qué hizo eso, boludo?
Mirá, para ganar vida, va a aguantar. Tiene
Ajá. Claro. Claro, ahora le va a jugar la ira, que gaste el counter y después le mete el ultimátum. Uy,
mirá.
terrible, boludo, que bien que la hizo, boludo. Y bueno, por eso está jugando ahí, nosotros estamos hablando por
Claro,
stream.
sí.
Acá en mi pieza, igual en Comodoro, boludo.
El rey, boludo.
Bueno, igual top de Kyo,
Gracias, Nick.
Igual top de Kyo, pero estuvo bien, sí, la jugada fue obviamente correcta haciendo eso.
Sí. la top deck.
Pero al ser incontrarrestable la víbora, yo no sé. Mirá, el chabón se quiere matar.
Y el francés se agarra. Me voy a buscar los lentes que no veo una mierda, boludo.
Se agarra la cara. Le contrarrestó, Mencho. Claro, le contrarrestó porque si no pierde. ¿Qué robó? La de robar cartas. Está picantísimo el asunto. Qué partidazo.
Robó una
Amigo,
sierra.
qué partidazo. ¡Qué
Partidazo que estamos
partidazo!
viendo, ¿eh?
Me vuelvo loco, qué
Mirá lo que
partidazo.
topdequeó, roba 3 cartas.
Sí.
No robó counter.
¿Y eso qué es eso negro que tiene ahí?
El
¿Qué hace
3-1,
eso?
el 3-1 con Landfall. Si
Ese le sirve,
si está en el cementerio, vuelve
y
a
la
la mano.
mandan, le sirve también, le sirven las dos
todo,
cartas que
todo.
robó.
Sí, sí. Pero ahora, ¿qué hace? Bajar
Ay,
bicho.
sí, la mandan tenés que jugar la mandan y bajar el bicho. ¿Qué vas a hacer, boludo? Bajar todo, no sé. Tenés que bajar todo, él ya está, tiene que tratar de ganar.
Atacás primero. Lo que pasa es que si resuelve el ultimátum.
Ya está, ya ganó Domingo este partido.
A ver, ahora resuelve el ultimátum.
Sí, ya ganó, ahora le tira el ultimátum y ganó, boludo.
Sí, bajás ultimátum y ganaste.
Por eso.
¿Qué haces, Nick? ¿Todo bien? Gracias por la raid. Sí, ya está, resuelve el ultimátum y le exilia
Le exilia lo de 3 o menos. Le va a exiliar lo de 3 o menos, le va a castear el Planewalker seguramente el de 6.
Y turno extra, boludo.
Y turno extra le va a querer meter.
No,
Y el otro, y
lo que podés
tiene la
hacer-
tierra él, tiene
Sí,
la
igual,
tierra él.
igual. Lo que puedes hacer es buscarte la saga, turno extra y Placewalker. Nada de grandes y todo bien. Primero
Sí, la saga iría bien también. La saga tapea a todos los bichos, ¿no?
Claro, saga, todos los permanentes. Saga, turno extra y un Placewalker o ira. Listo.
Es difícil usar ese mazo, ¿no?
El ultimátum, sí.
Y mirá la jugada que hizo
Mirá,
él ahí,
está
boludo.
buscando algo. Uy, no robó y sabe que se le viene el ultimátum.
Ahora, ¿cómo se saben las cartas que tienen el otro, viste?
Sí,
¿Cómo
porque
saben,
se
boludo?
juegan alrededor de eso. Este match, que es el peor, lo debe haber jugado y testeado Talai 1.000.000 de veces.
Claro. Uy, mirá, sabe que se tapió, sabe.
Sí, sabe que
Uy,
se tapea.
vamos, mirá, no le puede creer, mirá, se tapió, vamos. ¿Es el mejor de uno esto, Mencho?
Resuelve, ultimátum.
Che,
¿Cómo?
¿Mencho es el mejor de uno esto
No,
o...?
mejor de 3.
Le canchereó, ¿viste cómo hizo?
Sí,
¿Cómo le movió la cartita? Le canchereó,
Turno extra, a ver qué hace.
Alay ahí canchereó, amigo,
No
canchereó,
la vi, ¿qué hizo?
Le movió la cartita antes de jugarla, Mirá el replay después.
A ver.
Movió la cartita, le canchereó, mirá el replay como le...
Ahí lo estoy viendo. Apolo, vamos, hostias, vamos, Javier, en mi parte. Qué grande, Apolo, boludo. Ahí lo vi, la movió. Sí.
Le movió la cartita, qué grande, así se juega el Magic,
Sí,
papá,
sí.
anda a buscarla adentro, francés. Toma, para vos,
¿Qué busca?
para vos de Pras.
Turno extra y saga, buscate.
¿Qué busca? ¿Qué hace?
Ira.
Ira,
Turno
y el de 5, el gargadón ese.
El Gargarot, ¿no? Sí.
Sí. ¿Y el otro qué le sacará? Y el otro le va a tener... No, o la ira, boludo. O la ira.
O la ira, claro.
Complicado, boludo.
Sí, complicado.
Y complicado, en realidad medio le saque lo que le saque.
Se queda...
Sí, sí, no sé qué le sacás ahí, boludo. ¿Qué le sacás? Te mete el Gargadon y ira y
Y
perdiste.
perdiste. Y te mete el turno extra de ira, perdiste. Y te mete
Y
el
turno extra de
Gargadon,
Gargadon te mata también. Por eso, o sea, te mata con todo. Mirá, le sacó el turno extra. Chao, amigo, fuiste.
Ah, encima le exilia el cementerio, boludo.
Por eso, fuiste, boludo. Y bueno, mirá el francés que pillo, previendo esa jugada, mirá cómo jugó alrededor y se quedó con 2 de esos bichos en la mano.
Y ahora
Mirá cómo topdequeó, mirá cómo topdequeó.
Sí, pero ahora le viene coma, boludo.
Sí, bueno, sí, está bien, pero roba el removal para la coma y se para,
Ah, sí, eso sí. No, por eso es un... Mirá
Están
cómo
yendo y viniendo, qué
Top deck
partidazo,
atrás de Top deck, boludo.
Partidazo. Mirá, lo que sí, le llega... sí, llega a castearle los dos bichos. Uy, cómo se paró el francés con esa play,
Top deck
Ojo.
atrás de Top deck, ojo.
Sí, igual ahora, bueno, como vos decís, viene la coma. Mirá, se queda sin counter para la coma. Ojo con el top deck del
Ahí
francés,
está.
Si
No,
le...
pero va a meter, no tiene removal en la mano a
Sí.
velocidad instantánea.
Ah, claro. ¿Y
Mete.
no tiene que exilia? ¿No juega que exilia?
No. Creo que no.
Mirá, no le puede creer el francés. Se
Ahí
quiere
le
matar.
resolvió la coma. Y sí.
Y sí, ya está. La coma le gana, boludo.
Ah, tiene la tierra para robar el removal. A ver.
Nah, pero la coma le gana, amigo.
Sí,
¿Cómo
bueno,
para
pero
robar?
tiene para
¿Qué
robar.
tierra,
La
Mencho? ¿Qué
tierra que
tierra?
ciclea, boludo. O es lo que robó
Ah,
recién. No, ya la robó ahora.
la robó ahora.
Ah, y dejó resolver. Ay, lo tendrías que haber hecho antes, amigo. Ya está, la coma.
Dale horno ya.
Llena mesa y Talía puede perder. Y Talay puede perder. Sí, el tema es que no tiene nada.
¿Cómo Talay puede perder? Ah, porque vos estás atrasado en el stream un poquitito, ya entendí.
La que tiene
Ahí va.
amenaza, dice.
Eh,
Ah, puede convertir la tierra que tiene amenaza. Pero se la gira y bloquea
Pero
uno
para
de los
que...
3-1, boludo.
Sí. Ah, están 5. Uy, me había olvidado la vida, amigo.
Se repite,
Claro,
se repite.
están 5, boludo.
Sí,
Uy.
sí.
Sí,
Partidazo,
sí.
Estamos viendo un partidazo, boludo.
No, y acá tiene que convertir... El chabón, el francés, tiene que convertir la
Y
tierra.
atacar con todo. Lo que pasa es que va a
Sí.
la tierra la podés girar. O dejarla pegar la
Está bien,
tierra.
pero le pega 3.
No,
Le
bloquea.
pega 3.
Claro.
Está bien, le pega 3 y él baja a tierra y puede volver a castear el bicho o no llega. Sí,
Sí,
llega
llega
justo.
justo para
Llega
uno.
justo con 2 maná. Llega justo con 2 maná.
Sí.
Para mí el francés igual capaz deja pegar 3 o no, deja pegar
Partidazo,
3.
sí. Va a dejar pegar 3 y bloquear la
Uy,
tierra.
qué partidazo,
Ah,
boludo.
no,
No, pero
basta,
¿y por qué no atacó con la tierra el francés? ¿Qué hizo?
No sé, boludo.
Ah, regaló el partido, boludo. Regaló el partido.
No, ¿por qué
Porque
hizo
quería
eso?
ciclear.
Quiere
Porque quería
ciclear.
ciclear. Pero no podés querer
No podés
ciclear
jugártela.
ahí.
Aunque le salga bien, es una pésima jugada. Porque no te la podés arriesgar a un cicleo. Lo
Pero
mandabas
hacer
a
eso,
dos. Lo mandabas a
claro,
dos.
hacer eso, no, lo que pasa, claro, jugó con que Dalai piense que él tenga el counter, matar,
No.
¿entendés?
Claro.
Uy, mirá, y lo robó. Nah, pero amigo, ¿cómo están todequeando los dos?
Mirá cómo
Y bueno, pero claro, pero está bien, juegan siempre un paso adelante los dos, pero todequean los dos. ¡Anda a cagar, boludo!
Así cualquiera.
¡Anda a cagar! Con razón están jugando los dos ahí, boludo. Y pero no podés, yo estoy todo el día jugando Magic y no robo así, boludo. Dejate de joder, boludo.
La concha de su
Claro,
madre.
mirá,
Este hijo de
mirá
puta.
cómo le
¿Cómo
todequeó, boludo.
boludo? ¿Cómo topdequeó?
Pero ¿y cómo le todequeó antes Talay también?
Sí,
Cuando
no.
robó el ultimátum. ¿Cómo todequeó recién el francés cuando robó los doble bichos eso?
Boludo. Ay, ya
Robó el
ganó,
otro
ya ganó.
remove.
Convierte las dos, Madland y
Sí,
ganó.
ya ganó, escúchame. Y le robó también el removal para el gargadón.
Sí,
Una máquina,
una.
boludo, todequearon una tras otra. No lo puedo creer,
Qué buen
boludo.
partido. Se
No,
topdequearon
no lo
todos,
puedo creer,
todos se
no lo puedo
topdequearon.
creer,
Bueno,
no
a
lo
ver,
puedo
Talay,
creer.
que robar, necesitas dos velocidades. Uf.
No lo puedo
No,
creer.
no.
No lo puedo creer. Ah, pero que no lo sacó con la doble de coso. Ah, no llegaba a convertirla.
Claro, no llegó a convertir. Ah,
No, y ahora
no,
perdió,
ya
perdió.
Increíble,
Ahí
se había
perdió.
parado, boludo.
Ahí perdió. Ahí perdió.
No.
Y sí, ya había.
No, la concha de la lora.
Mirá, no lo puede creer el francés, no lo puede creer, se ríe, boludo. Qué partidazo que nos vimos, Mencho.
Qué
Menchito.
partidazo, boludo.
Ah, pero es el mejor de uno,
Mejor
Best of
de
One.
uno, sí, mirá.
Ah, me dijiste Best of Three. Ah, es Best of One. No, boludo, cuando ve
Tiene que
ahora el
matar.
replay. Cuando ve el replay ahora con la mano del otro, no quiero escuchar a los
boludo.
relatores. ¿Qué dicen?
No, se cagan de risa de los top decks, están igual que
I
nosotros.
told
boludo.
you at the jump, right? Javier has not been having a great day, right? He's tweeted that he's like lost.
Sí, tuvo, en realidad tuvo un mejor top deck, porque en top deck venían iguales. El francés robó un top deck, Talay le robó otro. Le mete el Gargarot, que era un top deck de Talay, y le roba el removal así, al Gargarot. Baja coma, deja resolver coma y se la juega con la del cicleo, boludo. Increíble. Increíble, increíble.
Vale,
Qué ojete,
la verdad que sí, amigo.
Ahí están hablando de coma.
He would have
Bueno,
missed.
¿jugamos una?
So
Dale,
showing,
dale,
so you
vamos
make
ahí
that kind of
mientras vemos
attack.
esto.
Javier thinks a little bit about if I want to block with the token, not block with the token. Could go down.
Mientras esperamos la siguiente ronda. Increíble, increíble. ¿Qué vas a jugar? ¿Qué estás jugando? ¿Draft?
Eh,
¿Qué es esto?
no, no, no. Mazo Carmé.
¿Estándar 22?
Sí.
Ah, bueno.
Ah, bueno, ¿lo viste?
No, no lo vi. A ver, contanos un poco cuál es la idea del deck.
Voladorcito. Mira, jugamos, boludo. Ahí
¿No
lo van a ver.
jugás el que pone contador? ¿1-1 blanco?
Sí, lo tenía recién, pero lo voy a cambiar por un volador porque hay un montón de veces que te lo quedas ahí, no, medio pelo. Vamos a ver qué pasa. Igual estoy jugando el Grul, es más divertido el Grul. El Grul me encanta, amigo. Te pasa por arriba, te mete la Emberclay que es re sucia.
A ver cómo viene esto. Qué bronca el partido de recién,
Terrible,
Terrible.
terrible,
Igual
¿cómo
para
perdió?
que los que los vimos fue un partidazo,
Sí, che, y ahí quedó afuera,
Y no sé,
¿o
ahora
no?
vamos a ver qué dicen. Ah, te hiciste el
Te
showman con
mentó.
el flyer y jugaste esta, boludo.
Sí, pero mirá esta mano.
No, no, está espectacular.
Y sí, hay que jugar lo que gana, amigo.
Y
El
sí.
flyer es divertido, pero este gana. Es como el Boca de Bianchi, ¿te acordás de
Para
ese
los que
Boca?
no.
Era
Sí,
ganador ese
sí.
Boca.
O como
Como el River de
de
Gallardo, el
Gallardo
de...
el de la
Sí,
Sudamericana y el coso. Para los que no
Libertadores.
lo conocen, Branca es mi amigo de la banda del Monorred que viajó al Pro Tour, que le hicieron la entrevista en su momento.
Vamos.
Qué grande, Branquita. ¡Qué salida estúpida! No bajes el de prisa. Baja ese. El 3-2. Sí,
Sí.
sí, sí, sí.
No, amigo, este mazo es Tier 1, ¿eh?
Sí,
Es una
sí.
máquina, boludo.
Me cansé de jugarlo este. Me
Y jugalo
cansé.
porque te digo, ahora está... Mirá. Boludo, con una tierna, es que está destruido el mazo. Si salís más o menos bien.
Sí. A ver si.
Bueno, hay veces, viste, que algún control te la manda a guardar. Hay mucho removal también, pero... Hay un mazo que está destruido que te gana en el turno 4.
Sí,
¿Lo
el de
viste ese?
cascada, boludo.
El de cascada, te gana en turno 4. ¿Dónde la viste ese mazo? Pero ¿cómo no banean esa carta? O sea, tira la carta y te gana, básicamente.
Sí, sí, es asqueroso, boludo. Lo que podemos hacer, Branca, es vos estás jugando. Ver las nuevas cartas,
Qué nuevas cartas,
las
amigo.
de la nueva edición.
Ah, ya sale una nueva edición.
Sí, 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 que vos la tenés que ver porque va a ser limitado eso. Che, qué lástima el
Ah,
verde, boludo.
sí, pero bueno, está buena la mano
Pero es
igual.
una salida estúpida, boludo.
Ahí va.
Ahí está.
Counter. Era
Qué
posible.
asco de carta esa, Igual
Está re rota.
ahora puedes hacer.
Sí, sí, ya sé lo que puedo hacer. Pero sí, está re rota cualquier cosa esa carta. 2 maná y te hace un Time Warp, boludo. Tiene otro, fija. O tiene la ira. Ese counter de mierda le da el turno, viste, para la ira.
Sí, 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 sí.
La otra es no jugar todo. O, nada, pero tengo
No, tenés que
Kirolino,
jugar
¿no?
todo, boludo. Si no tiene la ira, bueno, y si la tiene, perdiste, boludo. Groll Historic. Sí, 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 Groll Historic. Bien.
Y la tenía.
Sí, la
Sí, capaz no
tenés.
tenía que jugar todo. No, que capaz no tenía que jugar todo. Tenía que jugar un Burning menos y jugar este, capaz.
Sí.
Y ahora hacía la otra jugada y le dejaba 2 bichos en mesa, robo la tierra y le hago Emberclay. Ahora sí, ya perdí. Pero bueno, seguimos. Y ahí me lo garchaba con la Emberclay.
Sí, sí. ¿Juega Collected de este deck? ¿No jugás la Collected?
No las tengo. Si las tendría, las jugaría,
Y
creo.
sí, yo la jugaba, boludo. Destruida. Vamos a probar la... Bajale, sí.
Igual, boludo, no baja a tierra, tiene todo en la mano.
Sí, bueno, ya sabemos cómo. Prisa. Qué asco. A ver si sale la otra partida. No, todavía no. Están viendo las... El Dino, el Ferocidón tenés que jugar acá, boludo.
Nah, es muy caro, boludo.
¿Cómo muy
Nah,
caro?
el mazo tiene. Nah, el mazo es agro,
Es
boludo.
coste
Sale
3.
turno uno, 2.
Coste 3 amenaza.
Sí, pero. Y no juego nada casi coste 3. La bestia y el ogro, nada más. No, el que estoy tratando de ver si meto, ¿sabés cuál es? Que aunque no sea agro, creo que va con el mazo, es el posadero, boludo.
¿El de 2 maná?
No, el de uno, boludo.
¿Para qué?
Y si robo con la bestia y con el ogro.
Ah, estás
Como
jugando
jugó.
la bestia 5/5.
Claro, y el ogro.
Ah, y el Ogre. Tenés el
Ojo,
mamut para jugar también.
Nah, pero nada, no, no le da al mamut la nafta, ¿no? Amigo, mirá la calidad de cartas que jugás. Mirá esto, boludo. ¿Qué mamut? Mirá esto. Este es una máquina, boludo. Arrolla el chavo. Te caga a palo. Esto, que entra con esta. Esto. Estos quiero ver si. Estos capaz los puedo sacar. Puedo cortar también de esto.
Mm. Ahí estoy, puse el Fénix, boludo. A ver qué onda. Qué joder. No, ataco. No tengo criaturas. Vamos a matarle Valky. Vamos a atacar, a ver qué hace. Vamos a jugar esto. Vamos a descartar la tierra. Tousai, que nos saca. Pop.
Sí, boludo, vos jugás con auriculares al juego, sí.
Sí, sí, lo juego con
¿No te
auriculares.
pasa que jugás con música o cero música? Cero música ambiente, cero todo el juego.
Música ambiente pongo.
Ah, boludo, hace como unas músicas a veces que miro para todo lado porque
Claro,
me cago todo.
sí, sí.
¿Sabés lo que te digo o
Sí,
no?
sí, sí, sí. Fénix. Ay, qué boludo. Ay, ¿por qué? Si jugué 3 hechizos. Ay, tenía que jugar el optar. Qué pelotudo que soy.
Qué novato, Menchito,
Y
ese
me lo
error que hiciste.
cogía. Me lo cogía, boludo.
Mirá este, me hizo turno 4 la de cascada y me va a ganar, mirá amigo, mirá.
A
No
ver,
hizo nada, mirá amigo, lo único que va a hacer, turno 4 cascada, mirá, Mirá.
a ver, estamos viendo. Ah, sí, a ver qué hace. Le puede salir mal, igual.
¿Le puede salir mal?
Sí.
Para mí no.
¿Te mete el ángel? Omnisencia. Ese. Descartar. 2 cartas, boludo. Lo perdí por no jugar un optar, boludo.
Nah, mirá este sucio lo que me hace, boludo. Buah, tiene todo. Ah, perdió. Mirá, le gané, boludo, me
¿Le
parece.
ganaste? ¿Qué hizo?
Creo que sí. Claro, me gasteó todas las pelotudeces de la mano,
Ah, de la
pero
mano, pero no tenía nada.
no tiene nada más. Toma, los bichitos de la furia de los bichitos asesinos. El elfo y el goblin te mataron, toma. Mirá, terrible la partida que le gané. ¿Y este quién es? Jean Manuel de Prada.
No, qué
Ah,
boludo.
no, juegan de vuelta ahora. Talay y el
Sí,
otro no.
ahora lo ponemos, ahora lo ponemos.
¿Pero qué juegan de vuelta?
Puede ser a mejor de 3. Puede ser, Uf, menos mal. Y ahí ganamos. ¡Vamos! Y jugando mal, Lo ganamos jugando mal. Bueno, vamos a ver a Talay.
Monty liked it before it was cool,
Ahí
as
nos
he
está
said.
hablando de
Versus Jean-Emmanuel
Josico
Depras,
Hamilton.
hot off that incredible win here
Venga.
with Demir Rogues. So talk to me about this matchup, Monty. Who do you like and why?
Speaking to the mutate players, they
El
think the
banquillo más
matchup
largo de
is
la
bad
historia,
pre-board, good
Ahí está.
post-board. We've seen them come out
Jeskai
victorious.
Ah,
Mutatis.
claro,
in the
porque
matches
eso era
before.
Cyborg,
We saw
supuestamente,
Ray
todo
Stark
eso,
pull
Claro.
out
larguísimo.
Jean-Emmanuel Depras to guarantee his spot in this top eight.
Ah, este es el
Depras
chinito, el
had
de
to
antes.
find
El
tiebreakers
Jeskai
to
Mutatis.
make it
Me va a
in.
jugar contra
El japonés que
I know
estaba.
it's going to be tough. I know that when Eduardo spoke to Ray earlier in the weekend, Ray said he wishes he had more for Rogues. So this may be the biggest test we've seen for Kawa so far, but he still has a deck that has a lot of powerful cards in the matchup. We see that a lot.
Somebody's going to the World Championship. Who will it be? Let's find out. I'm going to send it over to Corey and Riley for the call.
Thanks very much, Maria. Coverage of this qualifier match begins now.
A ver qué onda. Ah, no, juega el francés contra Yoshikinho y Kwagwa, boludo.
Welcome back to our feature match area here for
A ver
this
si el
absolute
francés sigue
barnstormer of a match.
topdequeando.
Riley Knight and Corey Baumeister in the booth with you, Yoshihiko Ikawa and Jean-Emmanuel Depras. And it is not very often, Corey, that we get to watch a match with such an enormous prize on the line here. One of these two players is going to walk away with their head held high. Corey, talk to us about what's on the line here, mate.
Yeah, no kidding. The stakes have really never been higher, playing for that minimum appearance fee at the World Championship of $50,000, as well as the chance to get a likeness of yourself onto a Magic card, something that everybody would like to have. So really everything on the line.
Horrible el
A
mazo,
Magic
boludo,
card
está
free,
destruido.
basically.
Yeah, this match is huge, and it's not starting the way that Jean-Emmanuel Depras would be hoping with a mulligan to 5. It's a decent mulligan, Corey, but still absolutely not how you want this to start.
Yeah, a really land-heavy hand to start, and then no lands. Really not what you want at the biggest moment of these Magic players' career. But like you said, we got a nice turn 1, probably turn 2 play here, followed by a Soaring Thought Thief. It's kind of all you want. So we'll see what
¿Por qué no
Akawa has
vemos
to answer.
la mano del
Now,
japonés?
unfortunately, we don't have access to Yoshihiko Ikawa's hand here. We do apologize for that. It's
Acá
not
le
something
bajás la
obviously we
tierra
were hoping would be
negra
the case,
o
but it
templo.
gives us a bit of a chance to play from Depras's position here, not knowing exactly what Ikawa has, and he's playing a Jeskai mutated deck that has a fair bit of interaction, Corey. So he's going to keep Depras guessing.
Yeah, gonna keep Depras guessing as well as us, and it's hard enough for us to cast it when we can see this very difficult deck to play. Just adding another little extra challenge for us here, Riley.
Yes, indeed. Well, we'll see if we're up to it here. Vadrock coming down as a 3-3. Now, often this is mutated to all sorts of nonsense.
Gana una más y ya fue el Magic por hoy, amigo. Ya llegó a las 15. Gana una más y ya fue.
El topo,
Sí.
muy buena, Mecho, ¿qué hace el topito? ¿Todo bien? Estamos
¿Qué
viendo acá
topo? ¿Qué topo? ¿El topo topo?
No, lo conoces, este es un topo gallego.
Yeah, not bad at all. Just kind of jamming it. We do see the answer here in Power Word Kill that I'm sure we're just going to see fired off, maybe be a little bit
Estamos
more
viendo
patient
acá
with
el
it,
partido que
but
se
you
le
are
escapó a
very
Talay.
incentivized to be able to deal with it, to be able to get some attacks in, get some mills going, and start filling the graveyard of Akawa.
Y ahora
in case
estamos
you draw
viendo
something
Mutate
into the story.
contra...
Vadrock, of course, an elemental dinosaur cat. Even with 3 creature types, it's still...
I had to double check as well, yeah.
Still going to get taken down by the Power Word Kill here.
Vamos a cerrar esto.
But no, look, I like this position that Ikawa... I mean, the Jeskai deck is a more controlling deck. I like the
Ahí está.
position he's taking. Maybe trying to
Sí,
put a
se
little
me
bit of a
paró la
clock
cámara. Ahí
on
voy a ver eso.
Depar
Espera.
here. But
viendo
Depar
eso.
with the Power Word Kill, still an untapped black source for that Thieves Guild Enforcer.
Sí.
Look, this is what Rogues wants to do. Play flash threats. They're cheap, but they hit hard, and then back it up with with interaction.
Ahí está.
All kinds of different interaction to whether it's on the stack or on the battlefield.
Ahí está.
Rogues will get ya. So not too bad here for Depar. I think he's considering main phasing this Thieves Guild Enforcer
sé
to play
qué
around a
onda.
counterspell, and he's going
Ahí
to do
está.
it as well.
Ahí estamos.
Absolutely, and seeing that Vadrock just played out so aggressively would kind of lead me to believe that there's probably another one in hand,
Yeah.
or just
¿Y cómo la pasaste, Topo?
not a lot of interaction from Akawa. Of course, we could be wrong on that, but that's kind of what that screams out initially.
Well, we'll find out exactly what's going on in his hand as the game progresses, but it could be one of the two. It could, or potentially both. He could have a handful of interaction, but wanting to get the game going, or he could have a handful of Vadrocks and just chucking them out, handing them
Ahí
out
está,
like
ahí está.
candy because not doing anything else, rotting away in his hand. We'll find out in short order, I imagine. Ikawa hits the tank as he considers what he wants to do with his 4th turn.
Sí, ahí lo vi.
He's had a
Yeah.
belter of a weekend so far, hasn't he, Ikawa? I mean, all of these Japanese boys have with this.
No entiendo por qué no podemos ver la mano del japonés. Se le debe haber cagado la página para
No kidding, yeah.
compartir.
It always seemed like it was that deck that has the highest upside. If people really put in the time to practice and get good with the deck, and that's exactly what this team from Japan has done, and it is really paying off. Just imagine
te terminó la joda,
a
boludo.
team of 3 people, and you all take 3 spots to the World Championship. Like, there is no better feeling than that. I can't even imagine.
Branca, ¿te
Jess was
fuiste?
talking about
No, estoy acá, estoy jugando, boludo.
teams arrive at tournaments, and certainly not a tournament of this
Y acá
caliber.
te traes al
With
Urrus.
so much on the line, as we say, this is a $50,000 game of Magic that we're watching here.
Yeah.
But I remember there was a European GP where Team Eureka, this is many years ago, this is 5-6 years ago, the
Salvo que
Andres
tengas un
Strasky,
counter.
the
Topito!
Yolwar,
¡Qué
they all
grande!
turned up at this
Querés los
GP with that.
tritones,
Remember
me
that Return
parece,
to Ranks deck? And
Turns? Oh, yeah.
yeah, the Convoke card
Absolutely.
that brings back it had a bunch of like sacrifice effects. You could make a bunch of mana with I think Cryptolith right as well. And no
Ahí
one,
participa.
A ver si lo saco. A ver si lo saco. ¿Tendrá el counter?
I think it was their entire team made I think top 16, I think, right?
Yeah.
Or roughly, maybe 1 or 2 didn't make it. And the top 8 was filled with people playing this deck. It was unbelievable covering that tournament because, it caught us by
¿Por qué no
surprise. Well,
juegan
how
con
do they get money?
folios?
Quick, tell us how this deck works so we can commentate on it.
Con protectores,
And
¿sabes
while
los
the Mutate
protectores
deck is-
copados que le
The
meto
Mutate
yo?
deck is a bit better known, it hasn't taken people by surprise completely, but I don't think we expected it in the numbers that we've seen it.
¡Vamos, el masito!
¿Ganaste?
Tomá, che.
And
Turno
I
4 le
really
gané.
think
Sí,
Stan
gana
has
eso.
done that just, by himself as
Oh,
well with his
y él-
teammates. He's had a lot
No
of
es
decks
tan
that
bueno.
are really tricky to figure out, but very, very
¿Qué
cosa?
strong.
El
So, yeah, a great
cangrejo
team
acá.
there for sure.
All right, these rogues
Aquí
getting in
jugador
now,
de
they're
Titanes
focusing
de
Brother
siempre,
and
bueno.
Soaring Thought
Qué
Thief
grande,
coming across
Nani,
for
gracias
4
por
damage.
ese
You can
follow.
see that the Soaring
Top,
Thought
a ver
Thief
si
Sí,
tienes
¿cómo?
suerte y te puedes
is
llevar los
activated, there are
tritones,
enough
¿eh?
cards in
¿Cómo se tobdequean, uno al otro, amigo? No se paran de tobdequear.
Estamos viendo
Now,
eso,
that
sí, sí.
very clearly indicates to me that Depar is looking to bluff one of these 2-mana interactive spells.
Acá no le baja
whether it's
el-
Drown the Loch,
el esca-
whether it's
el
a vanilla
cangrejo
spell
porque
like
es-
Coward Kill, what have you.
Le
But he
llenas
clearly
el
doesn't
cementerio
value the mill
y
plane
te
because
convera.
otherwise he would have gone Ruin Crab Island. Bit of a liability to millate your opponent. when
Gracias,
you're playing
Nani.
cards
Estamos
like
acá viendo
Yordrakis and,
la
Vadrock for it.
MPL el día 2.
Yeah, exactly. Filling
Top
that
8.
graveyard with all these spells is a bit of a problem. I think Depra is really just trying to win this game with damage and
La
hope that
cagada es que
there's
no.
nothing
Uf,
big to fall back
uf,
from. And speaking of
baby.
big, there's a draw.
That's a huge draw here into the story. I mean, that undoes the
Oof.
mulligan that
Atacás
Jean-Emmanuel
primero.
Duprat suffered and then some.
Y sí.
4 mana, draw 4 cards into the story. One of the centerpieces of this Rogues deck. One of the reasons that I think that we won't see this deck post-rotation, certainly not in the same form as we see it now. It loses into the story.
Uy,
It
le sacó
loses
un
Drown the
Fénix,
Lock.
eh.
It keeps a bunch of the Rogues, but they're not going to keep the deck afloat.
Y pasás.
No, not really. It needs that really over-the-top effect to be able to just regroup and get stuff going here. We'll see if there's any kind of counter spell from Akawa, or if Depra even goes for it. Because if you just try to jam this into the story right now, and it faces up against a dispute,
sacó
a
negar,
negate,
está jugando a ver
disdainful
con
stroke,
Russo.
something like that, it's a big problem. And maybe Luris has a better chance of resolving if Akawa's hand is full of negate. So it's going to be a bit of a tricky choice here what to do. And we see that Thieves Guild Enforcer, where you could bring it back. The turn for Depra of Luris, Thieves Guild Enforcer, and Rune Crab is pretty powerful. But I think it's probably a little more likely that we're going to see like EOT into the story and then start firing it off. Maybe fire it off now before Akawa can find some answers.
I mean, the thing with Valakut Awakening, it's like, all right, how many cards are you gonna
Si hace eso porque está desesperado.
Like, because if they tuck like nothing or one card, you're like, geez, I should
Roba
have
dos
fired off. If
cartas.
they tuck 2, they tuck 3, you're like, oh man.
Maybe I missed my
What does their
spot.
hand look like now? You know, their hand must have been so bad. I should have just blasted it. All right, here's a Goldspan Dragon now, and this may prompt a response before it attacks.
Y
But
tiene
you
que
can see
usar el
Reese's
Into
Wishes 2 mana has been
de
left up
Historia
by
ahora, me
Ikawa.
parece.
And so many of these counterspells, so many of these interactive pieces, the unsubstantiates, whatever else, cost 2. So this is pretty telling that Ikawa has potentially waited until he has that extra mana in order to deploy the dragon.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why we
Toma, el Grul es una máquina de guerra, amigo.
Sí.
¿Cómo gana? Mirá, mirá. Diamante 2 ya casi paso a 1, amigo. Gané toda seguida.
Ganaste todas seguidas.
Sí, 5 seguidas gané.
Tenés que pasar la lista, entonces.
From positions that look just like this. So, I mean, we very well,
Interesado que
without
son,
seeing
Mencho.
Akawa's hand, could just see this game being over this turn. That's just the ceiling of the deck. Not looking like we're going to see
Acá,
that.
¿qué haces?
And now it's gonna
Into the
be
story
a
y después
big
bichito.
moment if this into the
Sí.
story resolves or not.
Well, you've talked a little bit about the ceiling of this Jeskai deck. I mean, Corey, you characterized it as having a very
Bruto ese
high
Fénix,
ceiling indeed.
Sí.
Puts beauty to
El
answer.
dragón ese no. No es Fénix, no sé ni qué es.
Dragón.
That's the nightmare scenario. 1 mana trading with 4, but Thieves Guild Enforcer is going to keep the clock ticking. And you know, this is something that you have to play around in a situation like this up against Jeskai. The fact that from a position like this, they can just go off and win the game.
Yeah, it's really frustrating to have these kind of decks that already have a game plan. I think Marshall was touching on this a couple rounds ago, where you can just have a good deck that's playing a proactive element, but then you always have to fear that just really ridiculous element. Where you lose the game over the top. It makes you play the game in such a way that you almost have to play scared. And when you play scared, you're not jamming as much in, and it leaves you with a lot of questions at the end of a match. Be like, should I play more aggressively and just hope they didn't have the combo? Or if you play too aggressively and they go off, be like, well, did I make a mistake here and get a little too aggressive? It's really, it makes it really tough to play against these style of decks.
Merfolk Wind Robber the draw here for Duprat. He's been sitting on the Luris, been sitting on the Ruin Crab for quite a couple of turns, so now faced with an interesting choice. What does he do here? What's his position? What's his play? None of these are particularly powerful. I mean, I guess the Luris is probably the most powerful thing he can do. And with only 1 mana available... Oh no, excuse me, there are those treasure tokens here, so really Ikawa could have anything.
Yep, could have anything, but only 2 cards. At this point, I think if you're Depra, you probably have to try something. Luris into Enforcer into Wind Robber is probably the most powerful sequence that Jean-Emmanuel Depra has available to him. We'll see if maybe you want to be just a little bit more conservative. Just play Wind Robber.
I don't think you can draw a card. Though, right?
No, I don't think you can do nothing.
You can't do nothing. Yeah, it's going to be Wind Robber. Maybe just immediately cycle that away. I don't even mind that. Yeah, I like this. Get a bit more information.
Yep.
Try to figure out what you want to do. Okay, well, it's just a land. Now do you go Luris, bring back the Thieves Guild Enforcer maybe? You got to get something going, man. Your opponent's going to start to outstrip you now.
If I'm in this position, I think you just have to say the jig is up, play your hand. Yep. Rune Crab, play a land, Luris, maybe Wind Robber. It's not like you can go Luris and Wind Robber and then hope to sacrifice it to interact with the combo,
Tienes
just
que
in case
tapearte,
Ikawa
amigo.
has it, because you
Tienes
only
que
have one
usar.
mana. So that's not very impactful. I think John Emmanuel just has to kind of just jam here, and we'll see if he agrees.
I agree.
Entra.
It's not a great spot to be in here for the Frenchman, but you've just got to try to do your best. Here is an unsubstantiate, so that's going to mean the Lurrus isn't going to come down this turn. There is still the option of Ruin Crab, but I don't like the Ruin Crab, man. I don't like giving 3 extra cards to Ikawa in the graveyard, and the Ruin Crab is so unlikely to be relevant on the ground as a 0/3. So
I
it's
think
gonna be
is
played.
I think we saw Prismari command. There's
Ya le bajó 3
unsubstantiate.
bichos,
Like the combo pieces are already there, so at this point, milling
Right.
anymore just doesn't matter.
actually matter.
So
Y sí,
Okay.
ahora sí.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. It actually, sure. 3 more cards, whatever. Have them. You've already got all the
take
stuff
'em.
you need. So, yep. Okay, fair enough.
I think the main thing that John Emmanuel Duprat is thinking about with not playing that crab is bluffing.
Oh.
And now the bluff equity is gone, and Akawa knows like it's time to do the best play that Akawa can do here. And
Uy,
gold
a
span
ocho,
number 2 is a
clock.
pretty good start, that's for sure.
Double Dragon.
Doble
And
Dragon.
Ikawa now on the cusp of a game 1 win. There is that Soaring Thought Thief left back to block. I guess Merfolk Windrobber can come back if this Lurrus resolves.
Vamos, diamante 1, Mencho,
It's
ya.
not over just yet, but still.
Al
There's a
toque,
pretty
boludo.
good
¿Viste cómo
chance of
subí?
Dragons on the
Sí,
battlefield.
Sí, boludo. Si es
Yeah,
una
I'd like
máquina
to
el
see
Grul, boludo.
something
No
like
para de
that,
ganar, boludo.
Merfolk Windrobber, and then just go with that really nice
Salvo
play
contra mí,
of
amigo.
perpetually blocking one
Oh.
of the Goldspan dragons, sacrifice it, draw a card.
Que la que
Maybe
jugamos
you find a removal
gané.
spell for the other dragon as
Qué
like, the
padre.
highest upside play, and just hope for that. But here's the problem: if you do
¿Jugás los
that,
elfos de llano,
you play
Marcino?
Windrobber here, and then you
Sí,
attack with
cuatro.
Soaring Thought Thief. One spike field hazard, and the game is over. If John
Los que
Emmanuel
jugaba
Duprat
antes que
draws
los saqué son
something
los
like
lobitos de
Dragon
estándar,
Ball,
que me
so
gustan
it's
esos
kinda risky.
lobitos,
Here's
pero
gonna be a
no hay
really big
lugar.
No hay
decision.
lugar, no hay lugar.
Can John Emmanuel Duprat
Está muy bueno el
afford to
mazo,
attack
boludo.
with Soaring
Tampoco,
Thought
¿no?
Thief? Or can
No.
you afford to not
Mirá,
attack?
mirá
You
esta
know,
mano,
gotta
boludo.
keep
Mirá esta
pressure on
mano. Yo me
both these
quedo, ¿o
dragons to
no?
get there
A ver.
eventually.
Nah, no sé,
He
media.
can attack,
Ah,
but we'll see if
No estás
Duprat
compartiendo.
wants to
O sí.
get a little frisky and go for
a
it.
ver.
Mills another
¿No
3
te estoy
cards for the Ruin
compartiendo?
Crab
Sí, te
here.
estoy
So
compartiendo,
maybe
Mencho.
Build Plan is going to be the way he gets across the line. Merfolk Windrobber will be held back to block, but will the Soaring Thought Thief get in there? Duprat here with a difficult decision to
Espera,
make. He leaves
Ah,
himself
Mencho.
into a removal
Keep.
spell.
No, es
Keep.
muy,
What's up,
es muy
21
lenta.
cards?
Sí, es
21
lenta,
cards so
boludo.
far, so still a ways away from the
Ahí va
middle
mejor.
plan. So as it stands, staring at 2 Goldspan dragons doesn't look like a very viable course of action to win right now, but
I don't think he can attack.
I don't
Half
think
the
so
deck.
either.
Half
Y
the deck is
saco acá.
removal
Y
spells.
esta voy a
It's not
sacar.
just, the fire prophecies, the unsubstantiates, and all the rest of them. It's also the
Y no
war
va a atacar.
practices and the
Ah, ¿sí?
Vadrops.
Y bueno.
It's the seize the spoil that draws you into another removal spell. It's another Goldspan dragon that makes this whole thing irrelevant. So,
Es que con un removal
this
te
is a
gana.
really risky
No, claro,
attack.
con un
It's a
removal te
really,
gana.
High risk,
really
high
risky.
reward.
Well, high risk, high punishment is the way that I'm characterizing it here.
Yep.
I mean, you've got to take
One and
these
the
risks
same.
if you want to win games of Magic. I understand that, but sometimes, I don't know. This
Con
is
un
a
removal
classic
te
position
gana.
so many
Salvo
people
que
find
te- que
themselves
es
in. Are you
un
playing to win
counter,
or are you
pero
playing
está
not
bien,
to
está bien.
lose? And
Jugó
here,
bien
this
el
does smack of
francés.
playing not to lose, but I think it's the only realistic option he has. He leaves himself dead to half of Ikawa's deck if he attacks with the Soaring Thought Thief.
I think the one card that playing around here is pretty good to do is the Spike Field Hazard. That card doesn't kill Lurrus right now, but it would have won the game if you attack with Soaring
Qué
Thought Thief.
mazo de
I think
mierda,
John Emmanuel
boludo.
Duprat is really
¿Cuál?
thinking if
Este que te hace la
Ikawa has a
cascada,
removal
boludo.
spell
Ah, sí,
anyway
te
for
gana
this
en
Lurrus
turno
right now, I
4,
can't
boludo.
win anyways. You know,
Turno
and if
3,
you have a removal
porque te
spell for
mete
that, you
el
might as well
conjuro
try
este
to
mítico
attack with the Soaring
instantáneo,
Thought Thief.
conjuro
But the
que
problem with
Sí,
that
a ver, quiero ver qué
rescatas
saca.
y
Spike
metes
Field Hazard
tesoro.
is one piece of removal that doesn't kill Lurrus. Yeah, see, there, the game would have ended.
Yeah. Yeah.
¿Qué
And I mean,
saco? ¿Este
that's
ángel
just
qué
one of
hace?
about 400 cards
protección
already
contra
card his deck that
criaturas,
would have won him
listo,
the game on the
cagaste.
spot
No,
had
no,
this Soaring Thought Thief
¿Protección
not
contra
sat.
criaturas tiene?
Contra, a
Because
todo.
this would have gone at
A él
the
también.
¿Contra todo?
Sí, a él también. Todos sus
And-
¿Cómo a él
permanentes.
también?
Todos sus permanentes tienen
and that
protección
would win the
contra
game. So
criaturas.
here's the attack. This is
No,
a lethal
ya
attack.
está,
A
no
force
es
block here
mames.
with the Merfolk Windrobber. It's going to block and then sacrifice for a card. There's an
Ahí está.
unsubstantiate as well. Oh,
Qué
Yoshihiko
ojete.
Ikawa
Counter.
has got another removal spell.
¡Ay, ganó!
You can't play around a
Ganó el
second
counter.
removal spell, Corey, and that is that. Game number 1 goes to the
Qué
Japanese player
ojete,
here
eh.
on Jeskai Mutate. Just one
Le ganó el
game
Ponquita.
away
Sí, con
here, Corey.
un
One
top
game
deck
away from true
zarpado.
greatness. Yoshihiko Ikawa.
¿Ya llegaste a Mítico
Double removal
o-
spell there was so good.
Vamos a jugar.
John Emmanuel Duprat
¿Qué
had
estás
that one
jugando,
draw
Topo?
step
A
to
ver.
draw some interaction to not die on the
El
spot.
topo.
And,
El topito.
you know, if John Emmanuel Duprat
A ver,
did
Branca.
find a draw on the law
Ah,
or
no
something
estás
from
jugando,
one of those
Branca. A ver,
Goldspan
dale.
dragons, on the battlefield and bringing back a Merfolk Windrobber would have essentially stabilized the game. So we were that close to essentially John Emmanuel Duprat being ahead that game.
Este ya
We'll see
fue.
how these players sideboard. This is
Contra Celo
extremely,
Marl.
extremely tense for Jean-Emmanuel Duprat. He has to win to stay in
¿Te
this
quedás con
one.
esa mano?
Ikawa,
Sí, ¿no?
Y vamos a ver qué pasa.
one game win away.
Hola, Oscar,
And
querido,
this
¿todo
hand is
bien?
much better.
Estamos viendo acá. A ver si
This hand
esto
is
ya
much better.
arrancó.
Remember, John Emmanuel Duprat did mulligan to
A
5
Branca y
last
mientras
game,
el
so
Pro Tour. Ahí
it was
está la
honestly
ronda 2.
astonishing that he was really in the game. But this hand is nice. Soaring Thought Thief,
Destruido, boludo.
Soaring Thought Thief, and then a bunch of drowns. It's exactly what you want in a situation like this.
Double drown, double thought thief. Bit of interaction with the mystical
¿Por qué?
disputes.
Está bien. Teniendo la posibilidad de jugar
And here Ikawa, I
de
mean,
instantáneo,
think
prefiere
of
jugarlo.
what is going through his mind right now. Is he able to focus and stay clear-headed
Sí,
in
ya
a
estoy en
situation like this?
mítico.
That world
El-
seat
lo
so
posteé en Twitter, a ver.
tantalizingly
Vamos a
close. The
darle
World Championship almost within his
retweet.
grasp. He can't let that get
¿Qué
to him.
está
though. He
jugando?
has to play this game of Magic here.
Vamos, Menchito, para
He'll be
vos.
hoping
¿Qué
to,
pasó?
double down
Ya
on
gané.
the success of game number 1 and
Y
take
en
it
dos
out in straight
formatos.
sets. He's
Ah, mirá,
his
jugando
way, though.
monogreen
A
en
worthy
estándar
competitor, a
y
worthy
Jeskai.
opponent in the form of
Y pero Monogrin Tapita tenés que hablar conmigo si soy el rey de Monogrin.
Sí, y
backed up
jugando
with his
Jeskai
excellent hand, he's
Control.
got Corey
Y la
really gonna
ultimátum.
give
Mirá.
Ikawa a run for his money.
Tapita.
Absolutely a great hand, great
El
player.
Tapita.
A ton of nerves right now for sure for both players and
Y lo que
the
pasa
biggest
es que
stakes
siempre digo la
that you could
última y me
possibly
voy, pero
have
no
in
para de
this
ganar
No
el
para
RG,
ganar, y
boludo.
bueno,
¿Cómo
hasta
que?
que pierdas, boludo.
Nothing like it.
Dale que llegás a mítico, boludo.
So Duprat, cracking this fabled passage, finds an island. He'll be hoping to draw probably, what, one more land, maybe a couple more lands as the game goes on. But as it is, he's got business. He'll play this Merfolk Windrobber.
Vamos y mana verde, vamos y mana verde.
Placed here and a Heartless Sack as well if he needs.
Ay, a ver.
Yeah, absolutely. That was not a bad draw at just being able to play something.
Ahí
here.
va.
Acá qué haces,
John Emmanuel
pasás y te
Duprat
quedás con doble
decides to
counter.
do so, or just hold back, Drown in the Lock plus Dispute. With only 4 mana, it seems like this is a turn to get one more threat onto the battlefield and then really defend it from that point and try to make sure that
Qué sucia esa la soul, la protectora de almas, boludo. Este mazo me va a regarchar,
¿Qué
boludo.
hace? ¿Qué hace esa?
That's the incentive for playing it here, but there could be some train wreck scenarios.
Cada vez que entra un bicho al combate gana una vida. Pero un bicho mío, de él.
Sí, sí.
Y ahora me bajo otro
Uy,
que
ahora
es re
te va a meter ángeles a cagar, boludo.
No, no,
I mean,
estoy
there's
re
not
complicado.
really close up anything in the hand apart from a hard cast mystical dispute, and unless Ikawa now just slams, I don't know, a non-blue
This plus
spell that can't be
dispute?
countered by Drown in the Loch. I don't know, man. I think it's fine. So
Acá
Vadrock
dejas
here.
resolver porque tiene una
Is there
disputa
anything
el
for
oponente
Vadrock to
y
flash
le
back
tirás
from the
el
pin?
removal negro.
More than likely with a bunch of mills, but here
¿Se lo
is
tirás
that
ahora?
scenario
Sí.
No.
where
Nothing.
¿Cuánta vida va a ganar,
It's a
boludo?
3/3. It's going to die to this Heartless Sack.
Tiene una
Mystical
disputa en la
Dispute would
mano
have taken out the Drown in the
tremenda.
Loch here, but there is a Spikefield Hazard to take care of the Windrobber. So just a bunch of 1-for-1 trades here, Corey, and no one really pulling too much further ahead.
yeah, and nothing to return there, of
claro.
course, because it was not mutated.
Bueno, me voy un rato, Menchito.
Dale,
Hablamos,
nos
amigo.
vemos, dale, nos vemos.
But a nice
Me voy a
spike
ir
that
al
hasn't
Discord
been
de
able
la
to
banda,
deal
así
with
que
that
si alguien quiere
Windrobber
ir
before
para ver
there was
el,
able to sacrifice it to draw that card, that was pretty huge.
Yeah, it's not Goblin Dark Dweller,
para
so-
ver, hablar y ver el
Yeah, that card
coso,
would
vamos
be
a ver acá.
insane. 3 mana, 3/3, flying for a striker, flash something back. So what this is really saying to me from Akawa's hand with just seeing jam, jam,
Si alguien se
jam,
quiere sumar
that
ahí, que
there might
deje
not be
abierto
too
el...
many permission spells in Akawa's hand. Not too
Que
many
deje la
counter
vista
spells, not too many
en Twitch y se
removal
venga.
spells for Sword
Doesn't,
Thought Thief.
and doesn't even have a
Ah,
mystical
tiene
dispute there, Corey.
4 counter.
So
Lo va a ganar
able
con
to
ese
sound
bicho
out
solo.
What is in Ikawa's hand, and we know that it's not a mystical dispute because Arena just passed immediately after that Drown in the Loch was cast here. So I think your assessment
Y eso es lo que
correct
tiene
here.
el
I think
rogue.
Ikawa was
Bajás un
just
bicho y lo
playing
proteges
threat after threat and
hasta la
hoping one of them's
muerte.
gonna stick. Let's
Ahí
see what's up
está.
this turn. Here's a threat. How about this Goldspan Dragon?
Acá le tirás
Yep, that makes
el
sense to just
stroke
jam it here. I'd be shocked if that hits the battlefield
y
because
tenés disputa,
interacting
boludo.
with it.
Oh,
Well, this
No.
is risky. If there was a
No.
dispute.
no, Duprat knows he's
¿Por
safe.
qué hizo
There's
eso?
only one copy of Mystical Dispute in the entire 75, and Duprat just double-checked the graveyard. It's in the graveyard, so
Se
he
la jugó,
knows
boludo.
that
Gotcha.
single blue mana is not a threat whatsoever, and he is perfectly at liberty to cast his own overpriced mana leak. Look at that.
That's very valuable information to spill over into the graveyard, and that is another advantage to rogues. Is sometimes you get that free
Podría- bueno, igual
information
esa
kind of
parte.
out of nowhere, and here
Yeah.
comes this clock ticking down, turn after turn, six turn clock here. That's nothing to scoff at.
The Hive of the
Se la
Icon
jugó
can
porque
speed
podría
back
haber
as well if another land's
tenido
drawn, but I mean, I was talking before about how it can be a bit of a liability to mill out
disputa
the
para eso.
Jeskai
Igual
Mutante
iba a
deck,
resolver,
given that
pero
they
bueno.
are a graveyard-based, they have a graveyard-based combo. But
Mhm.
in this situation, it just enabled that Goldspan Dragon to be dealt with handily, because Duprat knew that he didn't have to play around any other copies of Mystical Dispute. Just the one of in the main. I've had a look
Uy,
at the
qué buen robo
sideboard, and I
ese,
don't
eh.
see a second copy, so that's huge there. Skyclave Shade off the top, another nice threat.
Now this is just incredible. You have Stroke and double Drown in the lock. Ooh, that is a big hit that John Emmanuel Duprat didn't want to see. I was gonna say these 3 spells can lock out the 2 cards in hand, and whatever
Y tiene
Akawa
triple
is gonna
rojo,
draw,
sí, lo
the
tiene.
escape card is really changing the dynamic of that for sure.
Spikefield has it, exiles the 3-1. You can see that Duprat is going to pick a different hill to die on here. Double Drown the Lock can keep the Phoenix off the board for the time being, but it's not a permanent solution
Ay,
because that
complicada
Phoenix can,
esta
I mean, the
decisión.
graveyard's absolutely chock-a-block. So
Va a
there's
sacar el
not gonna be any
Fénix,
problem bringing it back again and
obviamente.
again.
Y lo contrarrestás.
Yeah, that mill right there could have been a mill that just got Akawa
sí, lo
a
tenía que
seat at the
contrarrestar.
World Championship, because that had to kind of be there right now. Otherwise, John Emmanuel Duprat had pretty much everything else locked down.
Mhm.
Now, of course, these Drown in the Locks can just deal with this for a couple of turns, but, you know, with having to connect quite a few times with Soaring Thought Thief, it's not great right now. So we're probably going to see something like Drown in the Loch this
Well-
Phoenix, and then pray for an untapped land to be able to animate Hive, exile it, and hope that there's not a Fire Prophecy or some type of removal on Akawa's side. I think that's what we have to go for.
Drown in the Lock
Big
on
draw
the
step here.
Phoenix, and that is going to take care of it for the time being. A Skyclave Shade once again off the top. 2 more cards with the Soaring Thought Thief. Ikawa down to 6. Still got that.
Ay, a ver. Ya tiene todas las piezas de combo ahí, Ojo.
So we're probably going to see this started off with an escape. Pretty much the thing you do against rogues over and over when you get this repeatable effect. And then we're going to have 3 mana to go
Y acá
with
tenés que
it.
meter counter.
If this Drown in the Loch gets countered,
A ver si
then
en el
that's a
turno.
great blocker for the Soaring Thought Thief or Skyclave Shade. That's not the best creature you want to be blocking.
Removal. Ahí está.
Adrock. Okay.
Badrock here with First Strike as well. Isn't doing too bad a job of blocking. But Drown the
Mata
Lock,
al bicho.
targeting
Bien.
the Badrock to take it out. And Ikawa left with very little. Oh, and a
Uy,
Timberland
mirá
as
la
well.
tech que metió.
Hammerhead.
Igual no le sirve,
So it doesn't have enough black to be able to play Timuret and exile a few things, but you can just play it. And here's the thing. John Emmanuel Duprat does not have a very good attack right now.
Oh, and he's not going to go for it
Está
either.
bien,
This
está bien.
Phoenix is doing a good job of holding the fort here for Ishikawa, and an expressive iteration. He's starting to turn the corner here, Corey.
Qué top deck que
He is.
metió,
John
He is.
Emmanuel Duprat. John Emmanuel Duprat really wants to see just like a Goldspan Dragon jammed, right? To be able to use this stroke and then use his mana to either
stroke
animate
para el
Hive
dragón,
or
okay.
bring back Luris.
Another Phoenix here. Is that a Phoenix in the exile zone? Yes, it is. So it's cast this turn. Another recursive
Another
threat.
Temple of... Oh, no.
Está bien, está
Duprats
bien.
had some
Ah.
very bad luck with tap lands
Qué
throughout
ojete.
the weekend, and
Tienes que atacar con el
this is one of those
3-1.
instances where the tap temple is going to punish him. In comes the Skyclave Shade, offering the trade here with one of the Phoenixes.
And here's the thing, it's not really a free trade anymore because of that Timuret. ability that, and we haven't seen a lot of Timorets here in this tournament, but being able to just eat Phoenix of Ash here and bring back Skyclave Shade, this is going to be interesting what John Emmanuel Duprat
Y
wants
te
to
quedas abierto de
actually
counter,
do
no lo
here,
traes
because
al
you can
bicho,
lower the
obviamente.
shields and bring back Skyclave Shade with this Temple of Deceit and eat that Phoenix so it cannot come back. But then guess what? Goldspan Dragon's on the table where Disdainful Stroke is no longer able to shut it down.
Another
No
Disdainful
querés
Stroke. That
el...
was going to go below decks here. And let's see if Duprat wants to activate
Es
the
que no lo
Timber
querés
here.
bajar porque te vas a tapear.
I think that's the one thing you really are priced in to do is using Timuret. It'll just be a question mark if you want to bring back the Shade or leave up Disdainful Stroke. And I think you just want to be aggressive here because that's really just presenting lethal. Now that you have land 5 and you can animate Hive as a menace threat, that's just like you're taking 3 basically no matter what. So putting yourself down to 3, Skyclave Shade can be blocked by the 1 Phoenix, and then 4 damage can come through. So it is a lethal attack if Akawa were to just kind of have blanks in hand.
But I think what Duprat is doing right now is having a look through the graveyard. Not only
Y va a ir,
deciding what he wants to get
se
rid
la
of, he's going to
juega.
play the Skyclave Shade. He's going to get
Se la
aggressive
juega.
here.
Here we go.
The other thing he's doing is checking how many Goldspan Dragons are in the bin. The answer is 0. That means that all 4 copies are either in the you know, they're in the graveyard. Sorry, they're in the library or the hand here for Ikawa.
Yep.
And that's the card that he doesn't want to see here, with a Disdainful Stroke in hand, tapped out.
El francés la tiene muy clara, no sabe cómo le ganó, igual le ganó a puro top deck a Talai.
I mean, yeah, the nightmare scenario is Goldspan Dragon, Vadrock, and Lord Dracus. Game just could end on this turn, you know, as crazy as that sounds. That's how powerful this Jeskai Mutate deck is. Pretty unlikely with how the game has been played out that those are the last 3 cards, but it looks like this is probably a removal spell for Soaring Thought Thief. Maybe a Fire Prophecy. Just deciding what to tap. Yep.
Yep, good call. Fire Prophecy. Rummaging something away here. And there's the Goldspan Dragon as well. Oh no, Duprat will be so disappointed. You see him sort of regretfully highlighting that Disdainful Stroke into the story. A nice pickup now. Once again, we know that he doesn't have to play around Mystical Dispute. So he can fire this off. This will probably leave him with Disdainful Stroke up because he'll probably find a land in those 4 cards. But still, the damage may already be done. This Goldspan Dragon is huge here.
And look at this. You could really look at this in a way, Riley, as saying, would you rather have Skyclave Shade in play or in your graveyard and Goldspan Dragon in the graveyard or this? You know, and it feels really bad, but if we were to not cast that Skyclave Shade, it would have been face-up information that Akawa would be like, okay, well, why didn't you cast that?
Yeah.
Obviously, you have something, so probably wouldn't have played it. So the game could have just played out completely different, and just based on those plays. But as it stands, into the story, now John Emmanuel Duprat wants to slow down and just try not to die and eventually bury Akawa in card advantage here.
4 mana floated here for Ikawa. He's being very careful, not trusting the auto tapper. And is this going to be a mutate? Yeah, I think this is Vadrock, right? No, it's a Cub Warden. It's a Cub Warden on the Phoenix of Ash.
Counter, ¿no?
Turned it into a 4/6 flying lifelinker.
Yeah, ahí está, counter.
Firing off that Disdainful Stroke as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah, Disdainful Stroke here is an answer to that, which makes a lot of sense. Cling to Dust is a nice one as well. I don't think this Phoenix is going to be a huge issue for Duprat moving forward if he can deal with it. But can he deal with it is the question.
Yeah, and here's the big problem for Akawa. Akawa can't get aggressive, and all of a sudden, it looks like Akawa doesn't have much gas in hand, if any, and now John Emmanuel Duprat's hand is stacked.
Yeah, it's looking really good. Another Into the Story, a couple of removal spells. Or, sorry, a removal spell in the form of Drown in the Loch. Cling to Dust, I guess, is a removal spell in the sense that it removes cards from the graveyard, but not in the classical sense. And a Thieves' Guild Enforcer is another nice threat that can actually punch a hole through whatever is blocking here with Death Touch. Drown the Loch, destroy the Goldspan Dragon. Not taking any risks here, main phasing that card. Giving your opponent a treasure token is fine. Make sure that they have a... oh, but it looks like Ikawa has some business here.
Ciclea.
Oh, cycling a Triome. Can he draw into some business?
Find a negate or something.
Huh? 1 negate.
Uy,
nothing.
resolvió.
Drown the Loch takes out the dragon.
Y atacás.
That's a good sign for the Frenchman here.
Seems like Yeah, the Timuret can get in there because of a little cheeky play here where you can just jam this Thieves Guild Enforcer to make it a 2-4. But it's interesting. You almost want to encourage Akawa to block the Skyclave Shade. But if you do block the Skyclave Shade, you want to make sure you get in some damage as well. And Timuret's not going to be doing any blocking, so might as well get it in.
Yep.
Perfecto.
And you'll see exactly that here. The Timber has made a
boludo,
2-4 with the
perfecto.
fourth Black Mana Pip coming down with the Thieves Guild Enforcer. And so across for 3.
Perfecta la jugada
in a
esa,
precarious, tenuous position. And a Cub Warden.
Yeah.
Gonna
That
try
is one of
again
the ways
here.
to stay alive for sure.
Yeah,
May
gonna
I
try
interest-
again.
Puedes
May I
jugártela a
interest you
robar
in
un counter.
lifelink and a fire breathing style of ability.
3.
Pay
Oh,
3,
actually, yeah, that's
gain an extra
huge.
2 life.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that
huge.
could
The
have
lifelink, not only the lifelink
Una
on a
3-5
4-6,
lifelink.
but also fire breathing and the 2 1-1s
Y
that'll
jugátela
create on the
al
way
counter,
down. Now,
¿no?
Depra does have the option of firing off that Cling to Dust to try to find a counter spell or removal spell. Doesn't look like he's going to, though. No. So 4-6 Flying Lifelinker comes in. That's going to buffer the life total for Ikawa very nicely indeed, as well as shoring up the ground. Those 1-1s looking very tasty against what Depra has got to work with here.
And the tokens do gain lifelink as well, so blocking 1 token to Thieves Guild Enforcer and 1 to Skyclave Shade is soaking up essentially 8 damage already because you stop the 6
Oh,
plus
Look
gain
at
2.
this. Yeah, and
Oh.
Ikawa's just
Oh,
like,
se
nah, gain as
repicó,
much life as I
boludo.
can. Hit you for 8. I'm back up to 11.
Necesita un removal
and
igual,
now the wind is beginning to turn.
I
Here's the
am
Cling to
quite
Dust.
shocked. I am quite shocked that we didn't see Cling to Dust on a non-creature first, because if you draw Drown in the Lock, he would have just won the game on the spot by killing Cubward and then attacking with a Hive to menace.
Y lo
menace
tienes que
through.
jugar.
Thieves
Ahí
Guild
está.
Enforcer. Another flash threat here. But on 11 with 2 life.
Oh,
blockers,
ay, no le
Heartless Act.
sirve.
Does that help?
Well, there is a nice little token on that Cubward, and thanks to the Phoenix of Ash escaping,
Toy
that
Story.
is really saving its life here.
Oh, the counter. No, I was just thinking, can you push through lethal here with Heartless Act plus Hive? I don't think so.
And it's looking like all 4 Drown in the Locks are actually in the graveyard already, so John Emmanuel Deprat knows that he had no outs to win the game on that spot.
Y acá tiene que sacrificar para ver que roba.
Okay, all right. Something like a power word kill couldn't have helped him. Oh, hang on. 2 more cards, 3 more cards, 4 more cards, excuse me, with the Thieves Guild Enforcer. An attack with all. This is an easy enough blocking puzzle here for Ikawa. Puts the 1-1 in front of the 3-1. And probably wants to block with the other one, right?
Probably. Now, there's some world where you could, like, Heartless Act your own creature to sneak through 8 damage here. Or we just see a double block there. Same thing. You could Heartless Act your own Thieves Guild
9 cartas
Enforcer,
le quedan, eh.
to sneak in 8. That's not really getting a lot done. So
No.
probably just going to see damage resolve
Le quedan
here.
9 cartas,
And
boludo.
the very, very nice thing that we have going for John Emmanuel Deprat next turn, blocking with Merfolk Windrobber and sacrificing it before
Right.
damage to prevent that huge lifelink swing.
Yeah, of course, because otherwise Cover
Ay,
wouldn't
lo
be
puse
able
mal.
to gain just basically infinite life. So maybe now you just have to hold back the Cub Warden?
Mencho
Definitely do. You
CRC
don't have a removal
dice,
spell for
Oh
it.
my
qué
goodness.
buena partida.
What a rip. What a peel for Yoshihiko Ikawa. Gets rid of the
Oh!
before it can get in and attack. So now there is a Soaring Thought Thief that can flash in and block the Cub Warden. But the crucial thing here is that Ikawa is going to be able to pump a bunch of mana into this Cub Warden, gain a stack of life, even with the block with the Soaring Thought Thief here.
But depending on the mill, how many cards are left, and the fact that Heartless Act can be aimed at that cat plus Hive coming up, is it even enough?
Ahí está.
I don't think so. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Okay, Luris is put into
Yeah.
hand.
So must be able to win via mill.
By-
Would be my assumption. Yep, 4 cards in library.
By milling out.
Exactsies.
Wow.
Qué buena
Wow.
partida.
Enforcer providing the final mill triggers that are needed, and Yoshihiko Ikawa so close. He fought so hard to get back into that one.
Wow.
And had a string of incredible draws, but Not enough cards in library remaining, and this is what happens sometimes with
Tremenda,
rogues, man.
eh?
They just mill you out. Out of nowhere, they just mill you out.
That's the funniest things. How many times have you been playing against rogues or playing with rogues where you died to mill and damage simultaneously, right? Like John Emmanuel had lethal in 2 different ways for the extra flex here. To send this to a 3rd game for everything for this players. Winner of this game is going to the World Championship. Wow. No pressure or anything.
No pressure. No pressure. All tied up at 1-1. Yoshihiko Ikawa and Jean-Emmanuel Duprat here. Both of them so close to a spot at World
Now
Championship
we're hoping
27.
for good hands.
And we're not
Ay, ahí está.
We're not getting one for
I
Duprat.
cursed that.
Bueno,
Oh my goodness! Now this is much better stuff here. This is a much better opener.
Yep.
Not what you would be hoping
che,
for.
Topito, te
but
bajaste el
realistically, you
Robes
don't
Company.
chuck
Hay que
one like
jugarlo,
this guy.
con Dieguito y un par de amigos
Yeah, any mulligan in this
argentinos estamos
situation
metiéndole,
for
eh.
probably the biggest game of Magic that either of these players have ever played in their life. You don't want to be seeing a mulligan at all, but of course, they're both such great players. They're going to shake it off, not really be in a woe is me kind of mood, and just play the best Magic they can and try to get a W here.
So both players down to 6 here.
La cara es que no
bottoming
pudimos
and
ver en
Agadeem's
todo el
Awakening,
partido
holding
las manos
Drown,
del...
Soaring Thought Thief, 4 lands, and of course the Lurus
Del
in the companion
japonés.
slot. Yoshihiko Ikawa on 6 cards as well. And we are off to the races for this 3rd and final game in this qualifying match between Yoshihiko Ikawa on Jeskai Mutate, Jean-Emmanuel Duprat on Dimir Rogues. A slot at the World Championship up for grabs. This is high-stakes Magic. Make no mistake about it. And a Power Word Killer. Nice pickup as well here for the Frenchman.
A nice draw there, being able to go Soaring Thought Thief into next turn. Thieves Guild Enforcer plus interaction. That is very, very powerful. Let's see what
¿Cuál no te
Ikawa
escuché?
has.
El Robes Company.
Not bad for Jean-Emmanuel Duprat. Not going to be too upset to see that. Either can just kill it straight away or get the Soaring Thought Thief down first and then kill it next turn. Probably a little safer to kill it now, I would imagine.
¿Y acá qué haces?
He's thinking about it because it's playing the Soaring Thought Thief. You could then just main phase the Power Word Kill. It does leave the shields down a little bit, but you don't really have a whole lot else to keep up. Drown the Lock not doing a whole lot in this situation, and you can still keep that Thieves Guild Enforcer as a backup play. I like this. I mean, it's only 1 damage, right? But it puts more of a clock on. Playing the threat out, and I think we're going to see Power Word Kill in the main phase here. Yep. In order to get through the Soaring Thought Thief. I like this. Nice aggressive posture from Duprat. Yep, that's good.
Yep, absolutely. Probably just have to kill this here. You can kind of wait. So Lord Dracus, if you would have mutated in response, you can kill it in response, and then Lord Dracus just comes into play, so it's not the biggest deal.
But then you just give him the
Baja tierra.
Lord Dracus. I don't know.
Yeah.
These could enforce the main phase as well, playing around any kind of counter magic.
Lo juega para que no le
Milling out a
juegan...
few cards as well for
Para que no le
Ikawa.
jueguen
So Duprat,
counter.
as you mentioned,
Pero bueno,
has been
no
able
sé.
to use most of
Yo
his
lo
mana.
juego al
Obviously
final
wasn't
de
able
su
to cast
turno y
Thieves
si
Guild
se
Enforcer
tapea, se
turn 1,
tapea.
but
¿Qué querés que te diga?
since then,
Pero bueno, por eso el
had a tidy
francés
go of things.
está
and
jugando
has already
ahí.
assembled some threats
Y
that,
yo la
while
estoy
now
comentando
aren't
desde mi
necessarily
casa.
very respectable, certainly will only grow and grow as time goes on.
Yep, absolutely here. A nice amount of pressure, and looks like we are back checking out the hand.
Fantastic. Love to see it.
¿No ves?
Spike Guild has it on the Thieves Guild Enforcer here, rather than playing a Cub Warden
Oh.
and a Phoenix of Ash in the bin as well. It looks like, oh, okay. These aren't quite synced up. It looks like. It looks like the hand cam is a little bit ahead here.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so here comes the mill.
Otro,
See,
pues.
there it is.
Yeah,
See
comes in for,
how
I predict 2 points of
does it
damage.
too.
Yep.
And there's that big sigh from John Emmanuel. It's just like anything but Phoenix of Ash right now.
El francés
And
ya
it's
está
almost that
puteando.
consideration, like, okay, should I not attack since I'm not well equipped for this Phoenix? But that Phoenix of Ash mill right there, it came at such a key point the last game with Ikawa, and that really could have been the escape card that sent Ikawa to the World Championship.
I predict that Yoshihiko Ikawa will indeed play this Phoenix of Ash here. That's my prediction.
I think that's a bold one, but a correct
No, es verdad.
prediction from you, because not only does it stop
Bueno, tenés que
into the
jugar,
story
entonces.
from
Ahí
immediately being
baja.
cast. There's no real response that
No.
Depra can do. You know, you can't play into the story in response to these escape. They're gone. And you get to get in there and start pressuring with a very strong hand here. Everything's coming up Akawa so far.
Disdainful stroke. I mean, useful against the double cub warden, but doesn't deal with the problem that's facing him right now. Jean-Emmanuel Depra needs an answer to this.
Y acá te lo
Phoenix of
traes.
Ash. He
Y
doesn't
sí,
have one.
traes
Lure's
y,
going to be put in hand. This leaves up the drown.
y counter.
Yeah, and really
Counter de
unfortunate for
criatura.
Depra to not put Luris in hand the turn before, but you really wanted to interact. But the thing is, trying to interact with these escape cards is just climbing an uphill battle, trying to deal with it every single turn. It's not a battle that these rogue decks can really win.
Lord Dracus now on the Phoenix of Ash.
Y ahí le tenés que meter
Bring
counter.
back, I mean, well, probably all sorts of cards, to be honest.
Acá le tenés que
There's
meter
been a
counter.
bunch of, I mean, there's been, what, 10, 12 cards milled so far? Something like that?
I see a negate right on top. That already seems like a great one.
Mm-hmm.
And here, Drown in the Lock can kill Phoenix in response, and then just Lord Dracus or counter that. That's interesting.
Let's counter the Dracus instead here.
Ay, lo que no sabe el...
Now, bowing the head slightly. Probably wasn't too much of a fan of seeing that. Soaring Thought Thief's going to get in again, so it looks like, yep, you can see Soaring Thought
Y
Thief
tiene
has
que
just
pasar.
turned into a 2-3 there.
Speaking of not wanting to see things, Luris does not want to see an Essence Scatter here, and we see that that is in play, and that is the worst card.
Mira como
for Jean-Emmanuel.
juguetea con la cartita. Juguetea con la
He's
cartita.
ready. He's so ready.
Juguetea con la cartita.
He can feel it.
He's going to fire off
Y
this
no.
Essence Scatter to get rid of the Luris.
Pasá, pasá, amigo.
Once and
Pasá,
for all.
pasá.
I mean, there is Academ's Awakening, I
Pasá,
suppose.
pasá,
but we know one of
pasá,
them's lurking at the
pasá.
bottom of the
No.
library. All right, here is Luris. And Ikawa snaps off the Essence Scatter. No, sir. Not today.
Not today.
So now there is the option to cast Cub Warden. It will turn... it won't turn out too well against the Disdainful Stroke that's in hand.
Boludo, yo
But
estaba
no, it looks like it's
mirando
just going to be Phoenix of
esta
Ash instead. We're
computadora
gonna see some
acá,
pumping here as
esta,
well.
y en realidad tengo la
Okay,
televisión
here
grande
we
ahí
go.
para ver todo.
Juice it up to a 7-3. Tap yourself out and say, listen, Jean-Emmanuel Depra, if you don't have anything for this Phoenix of
draw.
Ash,
Bueno,
I'm
que
going to the
robas.
Worlds, buddy.
Oh,
And the Hive of the Eye Tyrant, it's not going to be enough. Jean-Emmanuel Depra here, he has played his guts out all weekend, but it looks like he's not going to get across the line here.
Va a ganar el japonés acá, Ya está.
And a World Championship slot is just moments away
Se mete
for
en la final,
Yoshihiko
boludo.
Ikawa. Depra racking his brains. Is there anything he can do? Has a quick look through the graveyard. Going to get in there with the Soaring Thought Thief.
this is awesome from Jean-Emmanuel Depra. Jean-Emmanuel is just saying, if I hold this back, then Akawa knows I don't
Tres,
have anything and I'm trying to
cuatro,
chump block. If you attack with it, you're saying, yeah, I have a way to deal with this. I dare you to go for it. And that tempo swing of being able to have Akawa spend
Increíble, se lo
all
ganó
his
con-
mana to dump into Phoenix of the
Con el
Ash,
Fénix, boludo.
or Phoenix of Ash, and then lose it, that's one way that he could actually lose this game. So
Yeah, that's-
this is a huge bluff that
Yeah.
we do not see at the biggest stage very often at all.
Incredible mind games here. Jean-Emmanuel Depra saying, hey, I could have anything. Look at these two cards. They could be anything, mate. They could be anything. Are you going to pump the Phoenix of Ash? Are you going to make this a lethal attack and send yourself to the World Championship? No, the mind games, Corey, the mind
No.
games from Jean-Emmanuel Depra. He can't believe it worked.
Counter
And
y
now
tiene un
think
robo
about
más.
this. If John Emmanuel
Tiene un
Depra
robo
draws
más.
something like into the story, this could be a complete switch where
Y
he
que
could be
roba.
miles ahead, where Akawa could have just won this outright with perfect information.
Galactic brain level plays here from Depra as he leaves himself dead on board.
They called this the Jedi mind trick. Well, his name is J-E-D, so it is a true Jedi mind trick here.
He's
that worked
gone
on
straight to
Akawa.
bloody Coruscant, mate. He's on the Jedi Council, no worries at all.
Big
He
drop.
will have the rank of Jedi
Ooh.
Master conferred upon him. And a Cling to Dust as well here is a very interesting one.
So this either can gain 6 life, realistically, depending on how many cards John Emmanuel Duprat has in
Tiene que
graveyard,
robar,
or
Hito
you take
Story.
a redraw
Robar un Clay de Ojo.
and use this same bluff again next turn. This is insane.
Está al horno igual,
So
What
clean to
an
dust,
attack.
of course. I mean,
What
oh
an
yeah.
attack.
He kind of has to do it again now. That's the
Oh,
other
yeah.
thing.
La
He
cara
kinda
de
has to
francés,
attack
boludo.
again. Otherwise, Ikawa's like, all right, mate, I got your number now.
Yeah. And we also got to take a look, bottom left-hand corner. That's 3 minutes and 45 seconds.
Jeez. Yeah, great call there, Corey. Look at that. Just under 4 minutes remaining here for Duprat. He's going to have to get a wriggle on here.
El Prismari Command.
Cling to dust going after the Prismari command, so he's cycling it away. Finds Island. Not what he wanted to see there. It's a good card. Basic Island. Very good card.
Even
But
a
not
drown
here.
in the loch or something, right? Like to kill Phoenix and then attack with that hive. All of a sudden, John Emmanuel Duprat would have just been in the driver's seat firmly.
So Cling to Dust can, of course, be played from the yard. Duprat has to attack. No, he doesn't attack. He doesn't attack. The jig is up. Yoshihiko Ikawa.
Sí, sí,
Oh,
sí.
my goodness. John Emmanuel Duprat. He's
El
played
francés
Ikawa
está
like a fiddle,
flipeando.
but he's put
Sí,
the
está
violin
hasta
back
las
in its
pelotas,
case now, and he's
boludo.
going to leave back the Soaring Thought Thief to block. At the moment, Ikawa has no way to remove it, but that could change with this draw step. What does he find? Just a hinge gate pathway, so that's not going to be enough.
And that's the big thing here. The game has changed for John Emmanuel Duprat. Here, Kling can draw another card. So now this chump block isn't like kind of crawling into the abyss where you're just chump blocking, hope to draw something big. Now you can block. You still want to try to draw something big, but you have a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm. So,
Calor, no?
attack with the Phoenix now.
Bloquea.
And obviously, this time, Jean-Emmanuel Duprat is going to block. The Soaring Thought Thief goes down. Phoenix of Ash doing its best work here. And the land into another Cubwood. Now, is this going to be just hard cast, right? Or mutated? I think as an extra, as a separate threat here.
Apolo, venite a
Yeah,
Discord, boludo.
Interesting there, yeah, to just have another threat
Yeah.
because with that Spike Field Hazard in hand, that's another lethal threat.
It's another lethal
So,
attacker, exactly, yeah.
So
So,
now
Cling
we're
to
gonna
Dust
see
now.
this.
Iba a robar.
Cling to Dust,
Biggest
draw
draw
another
steps
card
of John Emmanuel's life.
to get rid of the negate and finds a Merfolk Windrobber. Okay, so that's one blocker that actually
Oh!
isn't too bad. And a Heartless Act here as well, the Cub Warden with no counters on it.
Wow. And
Pero tiene removal,
would've
tiene
been
removal,
nice
tiene
to be able
removal.
to escape that Cling into last turn and be able to play it and block. We know the Spike Field Hazard would have dealt with it, but you know that is something that could have been available last turn. But John Emmanuel Duprat wanted to leave all his options open here.
Is he going to attack with the Is he going to attack with the Hive? Oh my goodness! I guess he's got enough mana here, but this means the Hive can't potentially be used on blocks.
So what this means here is this Spike Field Hazard is going to head.
Hola,
at
Menchito,
Merfolk
¿qué tal
Windrobber.
estás? ¿Todo bien? Acá
Merfolk
viendo
Windrobber has to find Drown in the
el
Loch
MPL día 2.
specifically to deal with Phoenix of the
Estamos-
Ash, or
está bueno.
Ikawa is heading to the World Championship.
But are there even any in his list, in his deck left? How many has he played so far?
I think 0. That was last
Is it-
game where they
there was
were
last
all,
game that he played all
yeah.
4, but how many has he played this time? Is it just actual 0?
I think it's actual 0, but I'm
Wow.
not 100%.
A ver,
Okay.
¿qué va a hacer?
So, here's the attack. No Spike Field Hazard, allowing the block with the
Bloquea.
Merfolk Windrobber.
We
Because this
have to
means
use
that
this, yep.
this means that if the
Tira
kept
removal.
holding on to the Spike Field Hazard meant that the Cub Warden was lethal. Heartless Act has something else to say about that. Another Cub Warden off the top here for Ikawa. Wow.
So without a
Duprat
negate,
he is digging his fingernails into the cliff face here. He is doing everything he can to hold on. Finds a Zagoth Triumph. That's not going to do it.
we need a draw step here into the story and then into something else to be able to deal with these creatures. All will try and
¡Oh!
do this with
¡Intro del Story! ¡Ahí viene!
the very card that you said he needed.
A ver qué roba.
And Ikawa.
¡No!
To the head, but it is
¡Cuatro
absolute
tierras,
stick up for
boludo!
Duprat. Are you
¡Cuatro
kidding me?
tierras
4
robó,
lands.
boludo!
He draws 4 lands with his Into the Story. Oh, the
No.
swings and roundabouts, my friend. The roller coaster ride that this
No,
match has been
boludo.
for this Frenchman here. the triumphs and tribulations
Ahí
of
está.
Manuel
Bueno.
Depart, but he finds the drown in the lock.
Perdió
Not
por
enough.
el daño que
Too
tiene.
little too late after the world's worst into the story. A Phoenix of Ash off the top just in case it
Ya
wasn't
está,
enough.
ya
And
está.
Yoshihiko
Increíble,
Ikawa
boludo.
poised on the edge of greatness here. A seat at the World Championship beckons ever closer
No,
here
boludo.
as he takes stock one last time of what remains for him to do. He's so close. And this time, Jean-Emmanuel Deprat, he has chucked his well down into the bucket, but drawn it up dry. There is nothing left for him to do other than accept his fate. In comes the attack. A drown in the lock can take out the Phoenix of Ash, but with Spikefield has it
Ahí
in
está, ahí
hand,
está,
I
ahí está.
think
Increíble.
we are
boludo.
going to see Yoshihiko Ikawa at the World Championship in October as
Ahí
he
está,
takes out
partidazo,
Jean-Emmanuel
partidazo.
Deprat, and look at his reaction. He
A ver qué
is
dice Sergio.
over the moon. Yoshihiko Ikawa with Jeskai Mutate is the winner of this qualifier match, and what a result for him, Corey.
Wow, and I just got so many chills
Vamos a
sent
hablar con
up
Sergio.
my arms just watching that reaction.
Vamos a hablar
You
con
know
Sergio,
how
que
much
me está
Kyle
diciendo.
wanted this, and I cannot believe we got to witness such an
Sergio.
incredible game. That bluff put John Emmanuel Deprat in.
Sergio. Sergio.
¿Qué te he hecho la Sergio?
Estás solo,
Pero,
boludo.
¿Pero yo no quería?
Sergio.
Con cuidado. Ya no sé con qué botón.
¿Me escuchás, boludo?
Dime, Mencho.
Acá estoy, boludo. Vamos a jugar tu
Que
jueguito.
voy a echar un Valorant y abro si quieres y jugamos.
Dale,
Y que nos
avísame.
ayude Camacho.
Avísame. Dale.
Vale.
Mándame un mensaje.
Está aquí Ana también. Nos echan una mano porque la verdad es que... No, está Camacho. Camacho está conmigo en Discord. Nada, darle. ¿O queréis jugar una normal?
Bueno, avísame cuando terminen. Yo estoy viendo el... Mandame un mensajito y...
Venga, pues darle.
Dale.
Tira cola, venga. Vale, yo te aviso, Mencho.
Dale. Mandame un mensajito a WhatsApp. Ahí está. Terrible, terrible jugada. A ver, Into the Story. Estoy armando el clip, Into the Story. Estuvo guapo el juego de ayer. Hoy lo vamos a streamear en mi canal, Ahí estaba diciendo Sergio. Qué buen clip que quedó, muchachos. Ahí lo muestro. Tremendo, boludo. Ahora vamos a verlo. Porque la verdad que estuvo buenísimo. A ver.
He is doing everything he can to hold on. Finds a Zagoth Triumph. That's not going to do it.
We need a cross step here into the story and then into something else to be able to deal with these creatures. All will try and
¡Oh!
do
¡Into
this
the Story! ¡Ahí viene!
The very card that you said he needed.
A ver qué roba.
And Ikawa.
¡No!
To the head, but it was
¡Cuatro
an
tierra,
absolute
boludo! Topito, vamos a jugar un juego. Igual sumate. Vamos a jugar un jueguito de terror.
Are you going to celebrate? Are you going straight into testing?
Yes. For luckily, my team, me, Rick, Ray, Yuta, and Kenta.
¡Qué grande!
Our five, but in the Yuta already qualified, and now next Ray and Rick matched. So we or maybe we can test each other with it. So maybe we can very good testing for worlds.
It's worked so far, so that you got a great team, and I'm sure
Yes,
you'll be
thank you.
rooting for them.
Yeah, maybe
Alright.
I am not a good player, but my team is one of the best team in the world.
Aizuku, gracias por ese follow.
They certainly seem to be so. Congratulations, Yoshihiko. Go and celebrate.
Muy
and,
bueno, muy bueno.
We will look forward to seeing you in the World Championship.
Yes.
Qué buen La tiene re clara, ¿eh? ¿Sabés cómo tendría la cabeza yo jugando Jeskai Mutat? Hola, ¿de dónde sos? Aizukuku. A todos los nuevos, exclamación Discord, los invito al Discord de la banda de Monored.
You'll have friends and allies, and the more varied they are, the better off you'll be.
Dale, Topo, anda a descansar y hacer presencia ahí con la novia. Saludos, gracias por pasarte. Gracias por la suscripción. Recordamos, suscriptores. Todos los que se suscriban este mes participan. Uy, boludo.
Candlelit Cavalry has a triggered ability that triggers at the beginning of combat.
Yo de Buenos Aires, Argentina, viviendo en la Patagonia hace ya varios años. Nueva criatura por 555 Coven.
Cavalry, Storm Rider Spirit, and Famished Foragers. That's a fairly odd trio, but their powers
si fuera un coste más bajo, sería buenísimo.
Powers, and Candlelit Cavalry will gain trample. Triggered Coven abilities check the creatures you control twice.
Para Pauper, obviamente. Agrega 3. Che, me encanta la vampiro, para Pauper.
Let's say in response to a Coven ability, like Candlelit Cavalry's,
Vos,
something happens to your creatures, such that you no longer control 3 or more creatures with different powers.
Bienvenido.
Maybe you lose control of a creature, or the powers of your creatures change. If it doesn't pass that second check, the Coven ability won't resolve.
Andalucía, España, qué
in
grande.
addition to triggered abilities, there are other kinds of abilities as well. For example, Candle Trap. It has an activated Coven ability. You can activate this ability only if you control 3 or more creatures with different
removal me gusta
powers.
Para
it doesn't matter
para el
what happens to your
Enchantress
creatures in response.
de Pauper,
Even if you lose them all or their
me
powers all
mucho.
become equal, the ability will still do its thing. Coven also shows up on some instants and sorceries. Spells like Might of the Old Ways have an additional effect.
Sumate a Discord si querés, exclamación Discord y te puedes sumar. Por 2, 2, 1.
Might of the Old Ways can be especially tricky. Because the +2,
Che,
+2
este truquito me gusta,
first, and then you check.
Este truquito me gusta,
Going back
más 2
to
y
our
robar
trio,
carta.
If you cast Might of the Old Ways targeting Storm Rider Spirit, you won't draw a card, because now your Coven is broken up. But if you boost Candlelit Cavalry to a 7/7, your Coven is maintained, and you'll draw a card. Survival on Innistrad often boils down to keeping your friends close, and your enemies really far away. Good luck out there. Innistrad Midnight Hunt is available everywhere September 24th.
Estoy re manija,
Check out
quiero
your
ya
local retailer
en la
or game
nueva
store for more
edición.
information.
Voy a prender la luz que está un poco oscuro acá.
Down to -1 billion life.
Oh boy, does he hit.
Let's go. Here you go. You wanted to see some spice.
¿Y cómo te llamas?
So close.
Ice Cuckoo.
It's always time for the Sky Noodle.
Ma Noah secures his spot in the MPL Gauntlet.
MPL Gauntlet. No puedo ir a Discord, soy de... Ah, de PlayStation 4. Está bien, está bien. Gracias por pasarte igual.
Hey everybody, welcome back to coverage of the MPL Gauntlet, and off screen we were all just talking about when we started our MTGO accounts. Because, like,
tiene pinta de estar guapa la colección, sí, sí, y además cambia el estándar, y que cambie el estándar ya es una bocanada de oxígeno grande para el Magic, porque creo que de aventuras tuvimos bastante tiempo. Di algo con acento español. Hostia puta, joder, tío, gilipollas. Eso es lo que se me aprendí. De puta madre, de puta madre. Despabila, tío, despabila.
Let's take a look at our bracket here to find out what's happened so far today if you're just joining us, and also to illustrate the point that Mani is making there. There you see it, Yoshihiko Ikawa
bueno,
taking
Javi
one of these World Championship slots.
Chances.
That means we have 2 left to give out.
Joder,
one
tío.
of those is guaranteed to go to another Japanese player of this Jeskai Mutate testing team, Mani.
El telarañas.
Yeah, that's 2 guaranteed. So whoever
Lo ves,
loses
no. Onda
between
vital.
Reisado and Riku Kumagai, all eyes will be on him to see if he can complete what would be an absolutely legendary
Despabila, máquina.
team performance by making it through that lower bracket to take the 3rd spot.
That would be absolutely incredible.
Parece de español, es que estoy hablando con mis amigos españoles gallegos todos los días, así que hace varios meses me pegan varias palabras. De puta madre.
But yeah, 2 spots left to give.
Hostia
now we're
puta.
going to focus on our other matchup here in our top bracket. Riku
Y bueno, yo igual les pego
Ray
algunas palabritas
Sato.
a mis amigos.
Let's meet our 2 players here for our next championship match. Riku Kumagai, there you see him on your screen running the Jeskai Mutate list, which is really the story, I think, of this MPL Gauntlet with this testing team, versus Ray Sato, teammate here on the exact same 75 Jeskai Mutate list.
Mencho hablando gallego, como dice él. Sí, Topito.
De
puta madre,
to play against the best players in the world. Riku Kumagai said, "It has been my dream since I was a teenager to make it to the World Championship." But one of them is going to have their dream come true here. Let's take a look at their deck.
Ya sé, eso es troleada que les digo a mis amigos. Tampoco le dicen el telaraña, quiero creer, ¿no? Ni el broma. Esa es la troleada que decimos nosotros los argentinos de los gallegos, como hablan.
It's just been so impressive to see what this team brought.
Mirá lo que es el Jeskai Mutate y va a llegar, va a llegar al top.
Where there were 0 copies of Jeskai Mutate. This deck was just not something we were discussing. Obviously, we had seen the power in the past.
Hablas genial con acento argentino. Y bueno, te tendría que escuchar en Discord, boludo.
Championship, but perhaps it seemed like the post-adventures in the Forgotten Realms meta just wasn't friendly to it.
A ver, escribime una frase en argentino que yo te la
Throw
digo.
that out the window. Jeskai Mutate is here. It's strong. It has very few bad matchups, and we are going to take it all the way to the World Championships. I cannot wait to see how these 2 players navigate this mirror that we haven't had a chance to see on screen yet this weekend.
Yeah, and people have talked about it. Playing a mirror match is never where you want to be, especially against a teammate, which always kind of feels a little bit bad. Although one of you will be going to the World Championship, but playing these mirrors is so tricky. Talk about why.
Yeah, Maria, it's
tu amigo
really
creía que eras argentino.
One thing that's really important is, especially when you're bringing a deck that you don't expect
Para
to see
ser argentino, cada 2 palabras tenés que decir boludo. Che, boludo.
Boludo. This matchup.
Y ahí pasás
because it feels like a
como un
waste of their
argentino
time and resources to prepare for what is in their eyes a niche matchup. It would only really matter if they face each other. So yes, you know your deck and therefore your opponent's deck inside out, but that's it. You're not sure how the matchup will play. It comes down to draws, but it all comes down to
hay que darle al topo nuevo rol,
Acá
está, nuevo rol.
To interrupt the other person's mutate combo. Who has a counterspell for the gold span dragon? Who's able to set up those multi-spell stacks, and all of that is going to be
che, amigo, sos rechoto.
Wow, exciting
sí,
stuff.
Sí,
We're going to send somebody else to the World
esa sí es una frase.
Let's head on down to the match right now with Mark.
Che, amigo, sos rechoto.
Thank you, Maria. That's right.
El Re.
Kumagai versus Ray Sato for a seat at the World Championship. Let's get into it.
Che, los japoneses se están garchando a todos, Sí, tengo PC4.
And welcome back to coverage here
tengo
of the
PC4,
MPL Gauntlet.
PC1, PC2, PC3,
We've got a mirror match
PCP y ahora me van a mandar una PC Vita. Soy fan de las consolas. Tengo una Xbox 360, una Game Boy Color, tengo varias consolitas así que me fui armando. Soy gran coleccionista de esas. Después te paso mi usuario, me tendría que fijar, pero
could claim all 3 of the seats that we had available today with Mutate. What a story.
To say the least. The last match that we just watched is going to be hard to top, but this Jeskai Mutate deck has just been blowing people's minds and just what this deck can do, how potent it is, and how difficult it is to play against and play around, and more importantly, play with. But these 3 players from Japan have put in a lot of time and effort and work, did not get discouraged at all about any of the changes that have taken place for this tournament, and have been on a dominant run. So kudos to all of them. One of them, as you mentioned, Marshall, is moving through to Worlds, and the other one who loses this one could also as well. If that's not a dominant display, I don't know what is.
Yeah, they really kind of broke it here. You know, this is a deck that was a
A
known
ver qué
quantity,
dicen.
but had seen some
¿Cómo te
level of
llamas? A lo
success,
mejor puedo
but
enseñarte mi
was kind of
acento
up and
argentino.
down and not considered,
A
you know,
ver,
one of the
déjame buscar.
primary movers and shakers in standard. It was one that was on the list, but it's not up there with the type of stuff that you see from Adventures or Sultai Ultimatum or something along those lines. But
Pero
boy,
acá
does
son
it
las...
seem to have lined up
No,
with
no,
the
pero otro
metagame and
día,
how
otro
things
día,
shook
otro
out
día.
just
Pero
perfectly.
igual agregame.
Yeah.
A ver.
It absolutely has. Now, here's the one thing
Te digo mi
that we
usuario,
haven't had
Germán
the
Oliver.
opportunity to do much of this weekend.
Tengo...
The mirror match.
Tengo la cara de... El avatar de un Assassin's Creed. Menchos
How does it
RC.
play out? What are the most important
Búscame
things?
ahí
Right.
y
My
te
big
digo.
question, of course, is as these players got ready for this weekend, probably preparing against your salty ultimatums, your Naya
¿Qué pasó?
Notas, your Demir Rogues, all the other jazz. How much did they say, you know what? Let's test this. Let's test against each other. Let's
Agregame
test
y
the mirror.
después otro
How do you
día
get an edge in
jugamos.
that spot? That's one of the things I always am curious about during play testing because there were a lot of different decks to prepare for in this standard metagame. It was a pretty diversified metagame with all the adventures decks and a lot of things that you could do in this metagame. How
Vamos
well
a parar
prepared are they
esto.
for the mirror? We're going to find out.
Valakut Awakening there on end step for Riku Kumagai, and not a great answer in hand here for Ray Sato. The best he could have done is unsubstantiated sides against it,
Sí,
but
ahí está.
boy, when you know what your opponent's on and when there's cards in the main deck that you really don't want to see, that's a potent spell to cast here. We saw Riku put back a redundant copy of Vadrock as well as
Ahí está.
Cinderclasm to,
Eh,
well, theoretically
escribilo en
upgrade
el
his hand. He
chat.
ended up finding a couple of lands, but yeah, you know, a nice little way to kick things off here for Kumagai crafting the right hand.
Yeah, now of course comes the question of when do you pull the trigger with Goldsman Dragon? How do you want to use Lord Drakis? How important is
Qué
unsubstantiating
cáncer,
a matchup like
qué
this? When is the
cáncer.
best
¿Qué
time
hora
to
es
cast a card like
acá?
Seize the
Son las
Spoils?
7 de la
When
tarde,
your shield's filled down, when the base filled
19:03.
up, when is it time to make a move? You know, there's some jockeying for positioning here with
Mirror
Sato and Kumagai, which,
de...
you know, we've watched them play enough, not only this weekend,
Mirror
but these are pretty
de Jeskai
decisive
Mutate.
players, emotional
Qué asco.
for sure. And they give us some good looks into how they feel about how a game is going, but they're normally pretty decisive in their play and what they want to do. And this turn feels anything but for Ray Sato.
Yeah, pretty tough. I mean, he could go for Seize the Spoils, but, you know, that requires him tapping 3 of his 5 mana here at sorcery speed. It also is a pretty juicy target for a counter spell, as you must discard the spell as part of the cost. And Riku's giving serious thought to firing off Negate here, it looks like.
You got to remember there's one negate for both players in the main deck here, so
Tiene que
that's
poner
on the top of the
tesoro.
mind for Sato of just like, do you actually have the one negate that we're playing? Maybe yes, maybe no. Looks like the answer maybe yes here for Kumagai. Now the question is, does he actually want to cast the negate or not?
Escribile
It looks like
otra.
he does, so there you go.
Yep, there it goes.
Hermano Oliver o Mencho CRC.
It's hard to turn
Buscame
down a
ahí,
2
tengo
for 1
el
on that
avatar
level.
de
It also
Assassin's
leaves
Creed.
Ray Sato, which is 2 mana available total. Though it does seem that both players are content to kind of jockey for position here before kind of going for something big. Let's see if this is the turn for Kumagai. No, he's going to continue to develop his mana just past the turn back. There's a nice one, though. Expressive Iteration here for Sato. And it's going to resolve. He sees another copy of Expressive Iteration, as well as the all-important land drop there and a Prismari command.
Qué buena
So
carta que
26 here.
es la expresiva, Está destruida ahora.
Yeah, this isn't too bad at all. We'll see where each card's going to go. Grip, bottom, and then of course to the side.
¿Qué te quedas en
But
la
what's
mano?
also interesting
El
in a spot like
Prismari.
this too is this expressive iteration does resolve. I know that Mani and
ver,
Maria talked about
ahí me
it,
llegó.
playing against your teammate in a spot like this with a world invitation on the line.
Ahí te
obviously wanna
acepté.
win.
Lo que
You hate
sí,
the
ahora
opportunity
no
on
voy a
the
poder
win,
hablar
but
porque estamos
you're
transmitiendo
gonna-
esto. Pero
this is
mañana
probably gonna
o
get pretty good and pretty
Isaac,
competitive. I know we're kind of slow
agregar
paces in the
amigo.
game right now, but I'm expecting some pretty good back and forth gameplay between these two players. They're both
Ahí está, ahí te
incredible.
acepté.
And it's been a long weekend
Otro día
for
me
everybody,
contás
especially these two,
de tu voz
the deep
y
runs
esas
they're making
cosas.
with what is a
Ahí
very
está.
complicated
Listo.
strategy. So have their minds melted yet? You know, are they working
Yeah.
on fumes? They're both drinking tea, so you know
They are for sure. I
they're trying to
noticed
keep
that
it going.
too. Yeah, you do what you got to do here, staying up really late or even early as it were in Japan. We see the Prismari command go on the stack here. Really, they just got to keep their mental focus here through this match. Now, if they happen to walk away with a loss from this one, then they're going to have to regroup.
Ya tienen el combo en la mano,
They can really put in everything they can here and try to just push through. Because if they can just win a match, they'll find themselves at the World Championship. And, you know, there's not only the prestige of that on the line, but also, you know, this year the World Championship has a really high prize just for showing up. Right, you show up and you're going to get 50 grand. I mean, that right there, you know, ups the stakes of this one match to, you know, the typical thing that we would have played for back in the day at the Pro Tour. Like the 50 grand was the prize pool there as well, and this one has that and a lot more attached to it as well. Because not only do you get to collect that money for showing up at the World Championship, you get to play in it, and that of course means that you could win it, you could get your likeness and help design a Magic card. I mean, there's so much to be had there. Not a lot going on here as far as the board state goes. Players are still crafting the perfect hand. This is another expressive iteration here for Sato.
Yeah, we're at this weird stage of things. It almost kind of feels like a combo matchup, even though the deck doesn't. I mean, there are times when it plays like a combo deck, but not all that often. It just kind of has the combo baked into the deck, like you and I have talked about so many times while watching this deck win this weekend. But right now, it is kind of playing like kind of a combo control matchup.
La
You're not going to
expresive.
get really any aggressive starts, right? Your Lord Drakus is you're not just going to play for 3 mana most of the time. You want to get some value with the mutation. You can say the same thing about Vadrock as well. Goldspan Dragon maybe a little bit different story, but right now it's just
Qué asco,
kinda
el mirror.
drops, make some treasures, draw 2, discard 2 of Prismari command, resolve expressive iteration, get as much value as I can from that, set up, and eventually.
Bueno, sí, un día organizamos. Igual ahora le estoy metiendo mucho Play 2, no tanto Play 4 o compu.
All right, another Prismari command.
El Rogues Company jugamos cada tanto. Si querés bajátelo en la Play 4 que es gratis. Lo que sí te vas a tener que instalar el Discord. Va, no, porque tiene
That's what I mean by we're kind of in a control matchup. We're not exactly in a combo matchup because
puedes hablar desde el
traditional
juego.
control mirror, let's say Azorius versus Azorius or Dimir mirror, whatever. Look, it's about hitting your first 5, 6, 7 land drops, right? And that's what these players are trying to do with these expressive iterations, these Prismari commands. Prismari command a little bit unorthodox because it's making a treasure, but the point still remains in that it's a mana advantage so that when it is go time, you can play more spells
Alguna cagada te habrás
in a turn
mandado.
than your opponent can, and they can't keep up with you when you're trying to do all your stuff.
All right, land drops hitting the battlefield as the players once again continue to
Rogue
craft
Company.
the right hand. They've been able to filter away a bunch of the main deck cards that they really don't have any interest in here. Cinderclasms haven't stayed in hand, for example, for our players.
Acá lo jugamos bastante.
And, you know,
Mirá el mirror, lo que es el mirror de esto,
flip lands are going to just hit the battlefield as well, like the Spikefield Hazard. Much rather just have an extra mana available.
Yeah, those modal double face cards, like you mentioned, Spikefield Hazard, that's going to just be a land for basically this entire matchup. Maybe there's some corner case where it does show up and is actually played as that 1 damage spell, but I think...
No, ahora estamos con esto. Disculpa, otro día sí le metemos.
Okay. Do we have... Oh my gosh. Would you look at this, Marshall? A creature.
A creature going on the stack? I don't even believe you.
I know. Well, maybe.
Hay counter.
There it is. Goldspan Dragon goes
Doble
on the
counter.
stack.
Doble counter de los dos.
Riku's side, as you can see, no shortage of Lord Drakus for Ray Sato. He's got 3 copies of that card in his hand. And, you know, you can see that he's built up the defenses here, right? There's an unsubstantiate, a negate, and an into the royal in hand here for Sato. And we're going to see a bit of a fight. Essence Scatter for Riku Kumagai is going to be met with negate.
I'm loving it. This is my kind of game right here. This is like I'm playing StarCraft when I was like 12. My friends and I had a rule: no attacking for an hour.
Oh man!
So we would play a 3-way StarCraft match, and it's like I'm Terran, one's Protoss, one's Zerg, no attacks for an hour. So we just get to build up everything. And then
La cagada es que se lo devuelve a la mano.
That's what we got here. I was gonna say, you know, having a big fight for a spell on the stack isn't exactly what I would think of when I think of your style of play, but hey, I get it now. Now I see where you're going.
I'm loving it. It's bringing me back to, you know, my adolescence right now. See, here we go. Let's put some spells on the stack. obviously Gold's
Ay, tiene tesoro, boludo.
matchup like this, and it's
Y va a
just
tener que
powerful
resolver,
card in
sí.
general. You can't just let it resolve willy-nilly, so you got to battle over it. And right now it's back in hand, but a lot of Sato's resources are tapped now, so you would think, can Kumagai take advantage of this? He doesn't have the best hand. He doesn't have a Goldspan Dragon himself, but does have a Vadrock, and that's at least a good place to start.
Yeah, you know, Ray could have gone for it, used up his treasure, and used Unsubstantiate and kind of been all in on the Goldspan Dragon, but he would have had nothing to protect himself, and he didn't want to leave the shields quite down that much. Now the issue is being forced, though. Lordrakis is being mutated onto Vadrock, and that's really going to prompt Ray Sato to have to consider responding here. He's taking a quick look at the graveyard to see, well, if I did let this go, what would you be able to do? And the answer is kind of a lot. So he's going to use Into the Royal here, it looks like, to send Vadrock back to hand.
Sí, le devuelve el bicho a la mano.
That way the Lordrakis just kind of lands safely.
Sí, pero me parece que son muy chicos para...
No value will be had here.
Para explicártelo, así que no lo voy a decir.
Vadrock back into hand. Lordrakis hits the battlefield. Completely tapped out.
Porque me parece que no tenés más de 18
for now, and we see Vadrock now going on in the reverse order. Now, this did force him to use up a treasure.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, he does get to ultimately get at least something of a mutate pile going here.
And you also know here, too, with Kumagai...
Bueno, se tapió, y ahora en el próximo turno, pues...
make sure my eyes don't see here. Basically just tapped out. That means if you're Sato, all right, Goldspan Dragon, let's go. Let's start doing some pretty crazy stuff now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Green light on the Dragon, and he's got some nice action to follow it up with as well. With these Lordrakis, he's got triple.
Y ahí está.
So that was a pretty good turn there for Kumagai, but he's left with just the one treasure left over, so it's Dragon time.
Yeah, and if you're Kumagai, I think you know, given that you're playing the deck, and I mean, you know what happens next,
Ahí
está.
Right?
It's okay, it's Goldspan. I know it's resolving. I already know you have one. Because we had this battle over it last turn in which it got added back and via Unsubstantiate. So now we're going to do a little Lordrakis action. You're kind of hoping that Sato just doesn't have it all
tesoro,
in a spot like this. You know, like,
a ver si lo gana.
You have Lordrakis and Vadrock, and you know you can't go crazy with Unsubstantiate and everything else. But you're tapped out. You know, it's all whatever Ray wants to do right now, and Ray can do a whole bunch. It looks like.
He's going to start by getting back Negate. But as you mentioned, he can do quite a bit cycling through these Lordrakis. It's kind of free. He sacks a treasure for 2, mutates, gets a treasure back. This attack step will also garner him a treasure token. Down to 16 goes Riku Kumagai.
Ahora voy a mutar 2 segundos porque me están llamando por teléfono.
Yeah, that's my question. Are we just going to call it for this turn? Because you're seeing him go through the graveyard a little bit here. You see Prismari command out there. I mean, it looks like the missing piece of the puzzle is just a Vadrock at this stage. Now, you do have a little bit of protection with the Negate that was just returned to hand that everybody knows about. Unsubstantiate in hand that not everybody knows about. But if you're Kumagai, maybe you can assume that there's one of those floating around right now. So we're going to see maybe a Seize the Spoils. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he can do that in addition to the pair of Lordrakis. Uh-oh. There's a Prismari command.
Yeah.
Things are getting interesting
and
here.
I think
bueno, chicos, me tengo que ir.
Yeah, there's
surgió un imprevisto, nada grave, obviamente. Pero me tengo que ir, así que vamos a hacerle una raid para quien pueda hacerle una raid.
It might, you know, the Prismari command to start doing the 2 is a key. He has the Unsubstantiate already in the yard.
Amati.
I think he can just start looping here.
Yeah, I think that may have been the missing piece of the puzzle was the Vadrock.
Casi 2 horas,
I would never claim to be an expert of this strategy like the 2.
Oh, I'm an expert in it. It's over.
Oh, okay. Well, then.
Yeah. And then if it isn't, I'll try to deflect onto Riley or something. I don't know.
Okay. Got it.
I say he told me. But since that